Well, ladies and gentlemen. It is the last day of March. It is the final day of the month, so you know what we're about to do today. Let's go ahead and get the formalities out of the way because we got 3 extremely solid chapters of One Piece to go over today, and then we can discuss a little bit about each chapter and where we think the story is going to go from there. But I will not be too long today, because later today at 3 p.m., me and Gajeel are going to be messing with, well, it's better if I show my face when I do this. Yo, peoples, Kyushu92 here. Let me fix my tie. I had to break out the Admiral look once more. I had to get it out. I had to pull it right back out again because the amount of chapters that we got in the month of March, have to say some of the best chapters that we got in One Piece. So, let's go ahead and get this out of the way. Yo, peoples, Kyushu92 here, and welcome back to yet another One Piece Reflections, where we go over every chapter that we get within a month. We got 3 solid chapters of One Piece in the month of March. Chapters 10, 77, 78, and 79. Got the uniform on and everything, you love to see it. Hey, I had to break it out. It's been a hot minute since I wore my full Admiral, Vice Admiral, whichever Admiral type fit for Reflections. It's been a minute, I know, it's been a while since I wore this. I remember I used to wear this every single Reflections, but for this one, it's a very special occasion, because the last chapter we got in One Piece is by far one of the best chapters of One Piece that we've had in a long time. It's a top tier chapter. So, to save on me clicking on everything, I have the chapters on the wiki so we can go through the summaries and the notes on my phone, where I have the chapters themselves on my laptop here, so that way I can go back and forth, look at chat, and look at everybody else and see what everybody else is saying. Matter of fact, let me pop out chat off to the side here, so that way I can look at the chapters and have chat up at the same time. But the thing that I wanted to say and have my full screen on for was, later today at 3 p.m., me and Gajeel will be playing Marvel's Avengers. He's going to be on the Discord call with me, so that way you guys can hear him as we play through it. The final update of Marvel's Avengers pretty much drops more than likely right now, or during the time I'm going to be talking. We're going to be going through it, we're going to mess with it, see what they did with the game, and just talk about the game in general, because good lord, there's stuff to talk about. So many things have happened today. Like, it's crazy. Marvel's Avengers support is ending, Trump is getting indicted, and now I get to talk about One Piece. It's a phenomenal day. But let's go ahead and get started with today's chapter. Chapter 1077 should have noticed sooner. I don't understand why people in anime love wearing their coats like capes. It's the cool factor. It's less about functionality and more about appearances. Because that's how it is. It's like, yeah, I could walk around with my arms inside of my coat, but I'd rather look cooler by having it draped over my shoulders like a cape. Now, the question is how it manages to stay on their shoulders without moving, because how many of y'all have been to a reflection of mine and y'all always seeing me adjust things because when I'm moving, my coat is moving and therefore I gotta readjust it. It remains to be seen how they're able to keep whatever they have draped on their shoulders. They don't have fasteners or anything. Whitebeard surely didn't have any fasteners on his bare shoulders because his coat just hung on his bare shoulders. So either they were using hockey to keep it on, or it's just like, this is cool, it looks cool, we're not even going to explain it. But chapter 1077, we have Sentomaru pretty much telling all of the denizens of on the Fabio phase of Egghead that about the events that happened concerning Ohara. And this is information that the world government doesn't want anyone to know. But Sentomaru's all like, well, if they're coming here to eradicate the entire building, I might as well let you all know what we're in for. But it's going to be even worse because that was just a bunch of scholars on one island. Here, it is the greatest scientific place to exist, anime logic. Pretty much, Ogata-san. Hold on, let me make sure that my audio is not delayed like it was for One Punch Man yesterday. Once again, to all who watched, my apologies for not fixing that. But Sentomaru is pretty much telling everyone that what happened on Ohara, yeah, it's going to be 10 times as worse because this is Vegapunk we're talking about. The world's most significant and most brilliant, smartest mind to ever exist. So the world government is going to go out of their way to make sure that nothing of Vegapunk remains, neither his satellites or his island, simply because he went down the path of looking into the poneglyphs, which is taboo, strictly forbidden under penalty of immediate death. So says the world government. That is just how they think. I've been pondering this for about a week or so. Remember when Shanks said he came to Elbaf to make sure that an old friend, not friends, was not dead? Could he be referring to Skopper Goblin? He could be, because we don't know what happened to the rest of Roger's crew. Not every single one of them. Rayleigh took up on Sabaody and married Shaki, former Empress of Amazon Lily. Crocus decided to chill on his own and just be there at, I believe, the, the Red Line? I forget the exact location. I need to go back through the beginning of One Piece and read all the way through. Hint, hint, wink, wink. Just to know all of my references properly. But all the members of the Roger Pirates, we don't know where every single one of them are. So Skopper, who was right there with Rayleigh, and I could even say, is like, if we have Roger and we have Rayleigh, but Skopper was right next to Rayleigh almost all the time when it came to skirmishes. Like, he was right next to Rayleigh preparing to fight. So it stands to reverse mountain. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. See, this is what happens when I don't go back and read through old One Piece chapters just to check my references, and I just go off of memory. Memory serves that I don't remember it at all. But Skopper was always there with Rayleigh, especially if you're going off of like the anime and the manga pages. Skopper was right there next to Rayleigh when they were prepared to fight each other. Now, if people are usually, when it comes, and this is straight up regular anime logic, when it comes to people being on the same wavelength, maybe around the same strength, when it comes to them fighting, they're usually standing right next to each other, especially if they're significant. They usually stand next to each other as if like, hey, you ready to do this? Yeah, I'm ready to do this. You ready to do this? Yeah, I'm ready to do this. Otherwise, they'd be like, like regular fodder crew members, and they'll be behind the big shots. Skopper was always really right next to Rayleigh, and he fought Odin to a standstill, like able to clash with Odin evenly. Because during those 3 days that the Roger Pirates and the Whitebeard Pirates fought each other, Skopper was contending with Odin, Rayleigh was contending with anyone who tried. It'd be interesting if Gaben is on Lodestar or crazy enough Laugh-Tale. I don't know. That would be interesting. It has been numerous years since the events of Roger's crew getting to Laugh-Tale. It'd be interesting if someone from the Roger crew is still at either Lodestar, maybe as the final line to be all like, hey, you got to be worthy to get past me or something like that. This is just a theory, and it's interesting. It's very interesting, Ogata. It'd be interesting if one of the Roger Pirates somehow made their way right back to either Lodestar or Laugh-Tale, and they're just there. Like that one Crusader from, what is it called? Not Raiders of the Lost Ark. I mean, The Last Crusade. Yeah, there it is. Last Crusade of Indiana Jones, where it has that one Crusader who's looking over the cup that can grant a person immortality. I wouldn't be surprised if there's a Roger Pirate who's just waiting there at Laugh-Tale for that one person who can actually get there. And if they're not worthy, they just get killed, and it'd be like, he chose poorly. They chose poorly. Something along those lines. But it's an interesting thought. What if there's someone who's just on Laugh-Tale just waiting? The same way Whitebeard's saying, like, you're not the one that Roger is waiting for. So I wouldn't be surprised if someone is waiting for that one individual. It's way off the walls. It's way out in left field. And who knows how it could be, because we're not in the minds of Oda. Let's just say that. As many theories as we have, none of us are just in the mind of Oda. We have no idea how this dude uses observation. This dude, just like Shanks, Oda is just like Shanks in the way he has observation killer. Just like Shanks, he can make himself pretty much unpredictable and no one can predict what he's going to do. The same way Shanks can make himself unpredictable and no one can predict what he's going to do. Oda is basically Shanks in that regard in terms of his storytelling. So we have to wait and see. But continuing with the chapter, Sentomaru is telling all of the denizens of the Fabrio phase, at least the ones who are tending to him and listening to what he has to say, about the events that happened on Ohara, and how he says if they're trying to kill Punk, who has the biggest brain in the entire world, they probably concluded that he must be erased, regardless of the cost to scientific progress. Now, listen to how adamant and how much more the world government cherishes and values the knowledge and true history of the world over the smartest man in the world, who has basically helped create, if not create, every single technological advancement that exists in the world. They consider him knowing the history of the world and erasing him because of it far more important than the scientific significance his very existence in the world holds. They would rather kill this man for knowing too much than keep him around and continue to have him make technological marvels that pretty much no one else has been able to reverse engineer to this degree. Because everything that Vegapunk has made has been reverse engineered from 900-year-old technology, from the Void Century, from the kingdom that existed 900 years ago. The Void Century is that empty part that caused the world government to rise after that point. But just think about how much the world government values the secrecy of the true history of the world over the livelihood and existence of their most brilliant, I wouldn't even call him a subordinate, but they would rather kill this man simply because he knows too much than take advantage of the fact that he's pretty much the most brilliant person to exist and smartest person to exist in the world. They would rather kill him and set back the world 500, because all the time, all the while that people talk about Vegapunk, they always talk about how his technological advancements are literally have pushed the world 500 years into the future. No one else has been commented on that. We got Germa with the ability for them to do cloning, but it's because of Vegapunk that the cloning thing even came to be. Then we got Vegapunk is responsible for so many scientific advances in the world of One Piece. From devil fruit research, including the ability to implant a devil fruit power into an inanimate object, such as that one dog, I forget his name, from the Alabasta arc that is basically a bazooka, but also can fire out explosive baseballs. It's kind of weird. A bazooka that ate a dog fruit that can also shoot out exploding baseballs. It's weird. Or, what is it? Siegfried or Monkfried? The sword of Spandam, that is basically not only a sword, but it's also an elephant as well. All these different advancements of making it so that devil fruits can be implanted into inanimate objects, the reverse engineering of devil fruits so that they could be in the pacifista, such as replicating bubble shields that are akin to Kuma's ability to repel, because they can basically repel anything, and basically the ki blasts of Kizaru with his Pika Pika no Mi. This man has done so much technological-wise, scientific-wise, research-wise, medical-wise for the world. But all of that means nothing if he knows the true history of the world. This man has literally progressed the world 500 years into the future because of his contributions to humanity. And the world government sees him as like, Well, we'll take the loss because he knows the history of the world. We'll set back the world 500 years. It's probably going to be a hot minute before we ever find a person as smart as Vegapunk again, but he has to die. Think about that. The world government really does not care about anybody. They only care about their own standing, how the public views them, and making sure no one knows the true history of the world. They literally care absolutely nothing about anyone who serves underneath them. So it's crazy how Sentomaru's like, if they're trying to kill Punk, who has the biggest brain in the world, they probably concluded that he must be erased regardless of the cost to scientific progress. Which means that something even worse than what happened then could be about to happen here now. And then Sentomaru's looking, hurry up, Straw Hat, what's going on up there? Hold on, gotta move the page. And then it cuts to Luffy and Lucci fighting S-Bear, while Kaku and Zoro fight S-Hawk. And they keep going against them, but nothing is working against them. They keep trying to fight these two Seraphim, but nothing is working. Until Zoro kind of waits until the last minute to let them know that, hey, they're just like this dude I fought who's strong until his flame goes out. Only then can you damage him. And he basically gives them the weakness of a Lunarian. And Shaka here goes like, Kaido's pirate crew had a Lunarian. And Zoro's all like, well, I don't know what he was called. Interesting, then I would surmise that he must be Albert, the test subject who escaped from Punk Hazard with Kaido. The Seraphim are augmented with none other than his Lunarian blood. In that case, watch the flames on their backs. Your attacks won't do any damage unless the flames are out. They're basically invincible when the flame's on. We just wasted a bunch of our stamina. I should have noticed sooner. No, this helps. Now we can actually fight it. King's notable features are white hair, brown skin, black flames on his back. You should have noticed sooner. And it's like, Zoro's just now realizing, like, all this stuff is happening. Well, he's not realizing it. He's just taking his sweet time explaining this to everyone else, much to their ire. And then it cuts to S. I'm pretty confident that Conqueror's Haki Infusion will work. Given how Zoro's Conqueror's Haki Infusion worked against King, and they both clashed with one another, and King's flame was still on his back. Because if I pull this up, hold up, let me open this in Chrome. Then pull up Zoro. Because it'll have the image when Zoro beat King. And if it shows him slicing through King and the flame is still on his back, then Conqueror's Haki Infusion should be the element that actually works. So let me go down to his King of Hell style. There we go. Alright, I'm glad it has its own separate page. Let's see. Rengoku Onigiri on King. Alright, so in this image, it shows Zoro slicing through King, slicing through his wing. And I believe King still has the flames on his back. Because it shows King using his extra large Imperial Flaming Wings, which is, let's see, a large, more powerful version of Karyudan, creating a larger fire dragon with which King attacks and tries to immolate his opponent. This technique's true potential was never witnessed because when King used it against Zoro, the latter was able to simply split the dragon apart using his King of Hell's three-sword style, avoiding harm. So, when he uses these attacks, right here. Ah, I see right here. So he didn't use it. He didn't use the flames on his back. He didn't use the flames on his back because in order for King to fully manipulate the flames of his body, he has to turn the flame that is on his back off. Sorry, I was looking for the information so that way I wasn't giving you guys the wrong stuff. Because right here, fire manipulation, it says right here, it's unknown if excessive use of his flames causes King any kind of drawback, but what is shown is that the flames on his back seems directly linked to his tremendous resilience as a Lunarian. When they go out, King's body defenses weakens considerably in exchange for a boost to his movement speed. Using the fire he conjures, King can make his melee punches more damaging, like throwing a flaming punch or kicking with a flame leg to burn his foe. He can also launch bullet-like flame projectiles from a distance, as well as set the surrounding battlefield ablaze. At their most powerful, King's flames appear to take on the consistency of magma, with King's strongest seen flame techniques involving him channeling fire into his sword in order to generate massive super hot flame dragons that burn up whatever lies in their path. So, I feel like in order for King to be able to use maximum power, he would have had to have turned the flames on his back off, because otherwise, it would have... I mean, maybe Conqueror's Haki can get through it but it's not a devil fruit power. That's just something that King can naturally do because he's a Lunarian. But I wouldn't be surprised if Conqueror's Haki Infusion can pretty much get through that defense because only Haki can transcend all. But going through this, it shows S-Hawk, and I need to keep moving. I'm sorry if I'm droning on a little bit, but I like to look this stuff up. I hope you guys don't mind. Like I said, I won't be too long today, because me and Godzilla, we got work to do. But S-Hawk clashes with Zoro before S-Hawk can go after Shaka, and then it cuts to Nami, who's going up against S-Shark, and it cuts to Brook, who's been decapitated. Conqueror's Haki cannot get through it. Zoro said it in a chapter. Ah, I see. Yep. So, Conqueror's Haki Infusion will not work against the flames of a Lunarian. Because if I go through this, and we go to, actually, if we go to King, and go to his physical capabilities, let's see, right here. Due to his Lunarian descent, King is immensely tough and durable, with Queen describing him as a monster that could survive in any natural environment. In combat, even without invoking his Zoan transformation, King is able to endure extremely strong attacks without being phased or shedding a drop of blood. He has withstood powerful blows from the Phoenix-bodied Marco, a direct hit from Zoro's Rengoku Onigiri, an attack that defeated Killer, and Zoro's one-sword style Shishisonson, one of Zoro's strongest attacks that seemingly cut King from his head down to the middle. Sorry I'm late, what chapter are we currently talking about? We're still on chapter 1077, as we're cutting to all the Straw Hats going up against one another. But we're just talking about the toughness of the Lunarian hybrid Seraphim right now. So we're going over how strong King is to determine just how strong the Seraphim are, and if there's a way to, actually defeat them. All without King suffering any discernible damage. Even an enormous explosion coming off of King's body left him completely unhurt, whereas Zoro admitted that he might have died to that same explosion had it not been for his haki. However, once the fire on King's back goes out, his durability significantly decreases. Regardless, even in his less resilient state, King managed to endure a few of Zoro's Conqueror's Haki-imbued attacks before being defeated, and even survived his fall from Onigashima while the island was still in the sky. So, it just shows that King was resistant, was able to withstand Conqueror's Haki-infused attacks. Okay, thank you for letting me know. No problem, Hoster. No problem. So, I don't know about that. If it couldn't, I assume Oda would have had Luffy and Zoro use it by now instead of the attacks they're using. So, my thing is, it clearly states that even in his less resilient state, even without having that flame up on him, King was still resistant to Conqueror's Haki-infused attacks. He was still resistant to it, which stands to reason that he was probably even more resistant to it when the flames were on. Which means that presently, when and actually I didn't notice this then, but when Seraphim Mihawk tried to go over and slash through Shaka, the flames on his back is not there. So he turned the flames off so he could speed over to Shaka, but Zoro proved to be faster and intercepted him. I didn't notice this before, but the flames that are usually on the back of the Seraphim was not there. Because it cuts to Seraphim Jinbei, and he's going up against Nami, and you can clearly see the flame behind his head. But the flame is not behind Hawk here, which means that they function the exact same way that King does. They are willing to sacrifice durability for speed. So if they can get these Seraphim when the flames on their back are turned off, then that's when they can get them. But it's going to be difficult because they all have been called the ultimate forms of humanity. So who knows what other advancements are in their body aside from the Lunarian side that makes them even more formidable. They were literally made to be the replacements of the warlords, but under the world government's control completely, and made to be even more powerful, apparently. So, yeah. That's something, I'm going to keep that in mind. I'm really going to keep that in mind. So going back to Nami going up against Jinbei, Brook is down for a little bit because he got decapitated, but he's not dead. Well, deader. And then it shows Edison, who's out for the count as well. Check chapter 1035 if you don't believe it. He doesn't outright say it, but heavily implies it. Oh, no, it's not that I'm not saying that I don't believe you. I'm not saying that I don't believe you, Karma. I'm not saying that. I just wanted to make sure that I wasn't saying anything wrong when I said something concerning it. I'll pull it up real quick. 1035. Thank God for this subscription service. All right, Zoro versus King. Queen has been defeated, launched completely outside by Sanji. Can't wait to see that animated. All right, Purgatory Onigiri. So he's definitely some kind of special race, but it's got nothing to do with me. Towards the end. All right, I'm looking. All right, let's see. Why bother to block my attacks? I thought they did nothing to you unless you're scared of what I can do. You're biologically incapable of defeating me. There's nothing I hate more than weak excuses. I'll keep you in my memory as a feisty swordsman you were. I'll carve it into you myself, assuming you serve to remember me. Assuming you survive to remember me. Yeah, it doesn't look like King had the flames on his back. He doesn't outright say, but it's heavily implied towards the end. And then it cuts to King again. It's right there when Zoro uses Bird Dance. And then there's King getting sliced up right then and there. So it seems you figured out the rules of my body. That's right, finally envisioning your own defeat. So even after that, and this is the moment where Zoro started using Conquerors with his attacks the entire time. And then Zoro said it right here. When he tried to use Purgatory Onigiri with Conquerors, he says the flames are on. No point attacking right now. So I feel like even while he was using Conquerors at this moment, he knew like, hey, there's no point in me attacking him if that flame is on. So that speaks to how durable these Seraphim are. I feel like I've been spending a lot of time talking about this, but I'm glad for the clarity. I forgot it. Thank you, Karma. Y'all know I be forgetting some of these chapters and some of these key moments sometimes, but thank you, Karma. Right here in chapter 1035, even while using Conquerors, as soon as he saw that flame pop up on his back, he says there's no point in attacking right now. He's fully aware that he's capable. He's channeling conquers. And the problem with me is that if King could resist any conquers Haki's attack, then he should have kept the flame on the whole time. But here's the thing, though. When it got towards the end, he was so sure that he had Zoro dead to rights because Zoro was airborne. I don't know if we've seen it already, but I really want to see the Seraphims fly. I don't know why the thought of Seraphim Jinbei flying with his little wings is funny to me visually in my head. Sorry about that. No. Do not apologize. Do not apologize. This is what these reflections are for us to talk about things about One Piece. It's pretty much on topic. You're fine. Don't worry about it. Don't ever feel like y'all making me sidetracked. I still got plenty of time before it's like 3 o'clock, so yeah, we got plenty of time to cover everything. Y'all are fine. This is the place for these questions to be answered. So, the problem is for me, if King could resist any Conqueror's Haki's attack, then he should have kept the flame on the whole time. It was right here at the end of the battle. S-Snake did fly in 1079. Yes, this is the one where she was flying through. This is the one where she was flying through the hallways of the laboratory. But one could say that either she's flying using her wings or flying using the Dom shoes, because the Dom shoes allows you to fly as well. Case in point, the very first time we met with Vegapunk. It functions like a jetpack. So one could say it's either the Dom shoes that allows them to fly, or it's the wings of the Seraphim that allow them to fly. Either one of those things. But don't know if it's, I really, point is if King could resist it, and then he should have kept the flame on the whole time. It was right here at the end of his attacks where he started, I'm pretty sure he pretty much just assumed that he got Zoro right where he wanted to, right where he had him. Like they were both airborne. He probably thought that Zoro wouldn't be able to get out of the way of the air, so he just sent a big old giant flame dragon in front of him, which is him channeling a massive amounts of his own firepower. Now, we don't know the pure specifics of it, or whether him using it will cause the flames on his back to subside. But he was not prepared for it and got cut in the process and lost a big chunk of his wing. But that was back in chapter 1035. So, going back here, Nami is going up against Jinbei. Yeah, let me get back on topic. Going up against Jinbei, and she's closing her eyes to finding him because she still sees him as cute. He's not cute. He's not a child. And then Zeus goes straight through Jinbei with lightning blast. And it appears as if Jinbei's been down, but then Jinbei falls into the floor in like a sploosh sound, and the only way that could happen is if he was still conscious enough to use the swim fruit's ability that's coursing through his artificial veins, and he just goes back underwater again. And before Jinbei can lay a hand on Nami as he jumps up right behind her, we hear, it cuts to Brook, who's preparing to use Albade, and before that can happen, he sees something fly directly in the directly towards Seraphim Jinbei, going, Article 1 of the Sanji-Tushin. Now, I incorrectly read that as Sanji-Tuition. I don't know why I said Sanji-Tuition. Sanji-Tuition, like tuition, or something like that. I don't know why I said it like that. When I should have paid attention, it was like Article 1 of the Sanji-Tushin. Like Constitution, Sanji-Tushin. And Sanji comes in with Raw Heat Strike. Article 1 of the Sanji-Tushin. He who scares Nami gets death. Article 9 of the Sanji-Tushin. The one who makes Nami scream gets Raw Heat Strike. So my thing is, you get a far worse deal just scaring Nami than you do making Nami scream. If you make Nami scream, then you get the Raw Heat Strike. But if you scare her, then you just get death. I feel like Article 1 should be in place of Article 9. This is kind of jumping the gun a little bit. Article 1, you scare Nami, you die. Article 9, does it matter? Doesn't matter, you die after the first article. But he hits Jinbei and sends him flying in another direction as he goes, and it shows that Sanji is apparently tired because he's wheezing. Mind you, this is Sanji after his body started to get more acclimated to his more superhuman genetic modifications and, aspects of himself. He's wheezing here, which means that this man has actually been fighting. Seriously. Because he's wheezing. And you would think an individual who's capable of taking the sword to the face and just pulling his face back into place and then just responding with an ow, a man who is literally bulletproof. Just how strong is this Seraphim for Sanji to be wheezing and tired? Just imagine that. We just seen Sanji pull out a brand new version of his own Diable Jamba with Ifrit Jamba. Also, if you guys haven't seen the key art for the later episodes of One Piece, it shows Sanji with his Ifrit Jamba, and just like I said, the flames are blue. I knew it before they even made a cover art for Ifrit Jamba. I knew the flames were blue. Like I called it. I don't know what it is with Sanji, but he seems to dislike Jinbei from Fishman Island to Wano, and even on Egghead, he's not seemed happy with Jinbei. I don't think he has an issue with Jinbei. He honestly does not have a problem with Jinbei. It's when people, it's not even the fact that it looks like Jinbei, because he knows it's not Jinbei. All of the Straw Hat crew have accepted Jinbei. Nobody harbors. If anybody should be harboring feelings towards Fishman, it would be Nami, due to her having to deal with Arlong all of those years. But Sanji doesn't harbor any ill will towards Jinbei, and I honestly feel like he's never had any ill will towards Jinbei for a hot minute. Now, Sanji feeling some way about Fishman due to the events that happened during Fishman Island, that's a whole different story. But Jinbei as a whole, I don't think Sanji has a problem with him. He has a problem with individuals trying to hurt Nami or Robin. He definitely has a problem with that. And he has no qualms about beating up these individuals, even if they look like members of his own crew. Because he says here, I don't care if you're a kid or Jinbei, you get the death penalty. So I don't think it's more of a Jinbei thing. I think it's more of a you just tried to harm Nami sort of thing. I never got that impression from Sanji that he had an issue with Jinbei, or even some sort of hint that he didn't like Jinbei. He probably still feels some type of way that Jinbei's bounty is higher than his, which makes Luffy, Zoro, and Jinbei the highest bounties in the crew. He probably feels some type of way about that. But other than that, I don't think he has any serious feelings about him. That's just how I feel. I don't think Sanji has any real issues with Jinbei. So this is just how Sanji acts towards anyone who tries to harm Nami or Robin. But he's wheezing and just calls him Jinbei Jr. Then it cuts to Lilith, who uses a gun, which basically gives the same properties of Sea Prism Stone. Whereas if a Seraphim touches it or even grazes it, it robs them of all their strength, because she shoots this bubble gun at Seraphim Snake, which is Seraphim Hancock. But it just grazes her arm. All it does is graze her arm, and she immediately falls to the ground. She immediately falls to the ground, completely tired. And then, of course, Lilith explains, these bubbles are made out of sea energy. That green blood gives you the benefits of powers and the risks. These bubbles are your weakness. So essentially, all it is these bubbles essentially allow the Seraphim to be brought down. If they're hit by it, of course. And then Frankie tries to run over to S-Snake, and then S-Snake kicks Frankie in the face. And it turns out that even if they get grazed, the effect isn't all that long. And then S-Snake gets pouty and blasts where they are. And then Frankie comes up behind her and hits her with like a full bubble and just puts it on top of her so that she can't even move. S-Snake being basically a clone of Hancock, which allows her to have all of her benefits as an individual. Not just the benefits of her power, but also the benefits of her as a person. As I said before during this chapter's reaction, since she's a clone of Hancock, she has the same effect on people that Hancock does with her beauty. Seeing as Hancock is a full-grown woman, people are just instantly enamored with her. She's still known as the most beautiful person in the world. So mad at Toei for that key visual, by the way, because it's cool that they have Sanji alongside Law, Zoro, and Luffy, but why remove Killer from it? Wait, Killer's not in that? But you picked up on Sanji's animosity towards Jinbei beforehand. Didn't even realize it till after the video, so props to you. Are you talking to Halster, Ogata-san? I think he's talking to Halster. But Seraphim Hancock pretty much uses her charms to charm Frankie, who's all like, they remove Killer because his fight is over, I think. Huh. Why not just have all of them up there, though? Why not just have all of them up there? Seems like an odd choice. Unless they're just, yeah, Karma makes a good point. Yeah, now that I think about it, Karma makes a good point. They're probably just having key visuals of people whose fights are still not over. So, yeah, I see it now. But, S-Snake uses her charm, like childlike charms, to, get Frankie to second guess. That's what I said when I first saw it. Get Frankie to second guess himself, and he lifts the bubble, and in the process, S-Snake uses Perfume Femur on Frankie, and half of his body turns to stone. Only the left side of his body, the left side of his face, down to like where his left chest is and his arm, that's the only thing that's still free. But he gets Perfume Femured, and half of him turns to stone. And as that happens, Lilith tries to shoot some bubbles at S-Snake, but she dodges both of them, and then using her charm on both Lilith and Usopp, she winks at him. They're both like, she's so cute, and in the process, they get fully turned to stone by S-Snake. Killer was fighting for his life on the rooftop, meanwhile Sanji was chilling with Black Maria. More or less, yeah. Then it cuts to the old Devil Fruit research lab in the basement floor, and that's where Shaka finds Vegapunk, the CP agents, and he's wondering what all happened. And as Shaka gets down there, Vegapunk asks him, "Who came with you?" And then we hear a gun load and click, and we see Shaka just get shot directly in the face instantly, surprising literally everyone. And then all we see at the end of this chapter is Shaka laying in a pool of his own blood. Not gonna lie, I think my inner Tekking took over because I genuinely thought Frankie would still be fighting after half his body was turned to stone. I mean, there's only so much he can do with just one arm. He only has weapons left on his left side. But the rest of his body is just straight up turned to stone at that point. But this chapter ends with Shaka getting shot in the face. Now we find out who it is in the next chapter, and it's like, how did I not pick up on this person's moniker when they were first introduced the first time? So that's the end of the chapter. So we're going to go over the quick notes of this chapter. Sentomaru talks to the Fabio Phase residents and orders them to leave, believing a similar incident to the Ohara, a similar event to the Ohara incident is coming. Luffy, Lucci, Zoro, and Kaku continue fighting S-Bear and S-Hawk. Zoro notices that the Seraphim have King's Lunarian abilities and tells the group the weakness he discovered during his duel in Wano. Shaka reveals that the Seraphim have King's lineage factor. So, let's just think about that for a second. Due to the Seraphim being basically half Lunarian, they somehow get all of their benefits. They're basically Lunarian clones of the warlords with their powers. So not only do they have overwhelming strength, but they also have overwhelming durability as well. They are basically what all the pacifistas were supposed to be, or at least lead towards. because we still have the prototypes. They still use the prototypes. Then we have the Mark IIIs. There's only like 50 that exist right now, and they're all on Egghead, and they've all been told to take care and watch after and protect the Straw Hats and the Vegapunks. And then we have the Seraphim, which are pretty much the pinnacle of that whole entire Seraphim pacifista project. So she's like the Greek goddess Aphrodite. Pretty much, when you think about it. Because everyone who looks at her just... Well, actually, she's a mixture of Aphrodite and a Medusa. Everyone who looks at her is enamored by her beauty and could wind up being turned to stone. So she's like a mixture between Aphrodite and Medusa. Because part of the way the Mero no Mi works is that if you harbor dirty thoughts about the individual or the user, that makes you susceptible to being turned to stone. So if you're charmed by this person, you fall in the line of being susceptible to them. So yeah, she's like a mix between Aphrodite and Medusa. Aphrodite on the beauty side, Medusa on the turning people to stone side. But Shaka reveals that the Seraphim have King's lineage factor. During the fight, Shaka leaves, having an idea where Vegapunk is. Nami, Brook, and Edison continue fighting S-Shark, but I don't know why they say Edison continue fighting S-Shark when Edison is clearly shown being, bodied in the ground in the one panel he's shown in this entire chapter. Brook and Edison have been defeated. Ah, there it is. And Nami unleashes Zeus. Sanji joins the battle. His eyebrow is reflected again to resemble that of his siblings. Ah, okay, so here's the thing. I feel like when Sanji is using the superhuman aspect of his body, his eyebrow changes. Because you guys brought it up multiple times as well. Like, wow, Sanji's eyebrow changed again. So I feel like every single time Sanji uses that superhuman modified aspect of his body, his eyebrow changes just like to the position of where his siblings have it. Because when it's just regular Sanji that we all know and love, his eyebrows positioning is reversed. But when he starts using his capabilities, his beyond human capabilities, his eyebrows switch their positions. So I feel like this is a genetic thing. And since we never seen the Vinsmoke siblings act normal, to a degree, or at least normal in the fact that they're actual human beings, we never see their eyebrows change, and that includes Reiju. And I feel like that's just simply how Reiju is. But when it comes to Sanji, he's the only anomaly amongst them whose eyebrows continue to change back and forth every time he goes from being normal Sanji to superhuman Sanji. His eyebrows is reflected again to resemble that of his siblings. Lilith, Usopp, Frankie, and Pythagoras continue fighting S-Snake. Lilith's bubble gun weakens S-Snake due to the bubbles containing sea energy. Lilith reveals that green blood still grants its user the standard devil fruit weaknesses. S-Snake successfully turns Frankie, Lilith, and Usopp into stone, with only Frankie being partly transformed. Shaka finds Vegapunk and the missing Cypherpole agents imprisoned. While speaking with Vegapunk, Shaka is shot by an unknown assailant. I don't like that his awakened abilities aren't on all the time, but I understand it because Sanji would be kind of busted. Hope he can turn it on at will, though. I honestly feel like he understands that he's superhuman. But I believe the reason why he doesn't use it all the time is simply because he doesn't want to turn into his own siblings. Because remember the initial shock he had when he realized he was superhuman like his brothers and sister? He was horrified. The man literally ran away from his fight with Queen to process it all. Given how he feels about his entire Vinsmoke family, less more on Reiju and more so with all the other members of his family, I honestly feel and understand why he wouldn't want to be anything like them in any respect. So for him to realize that he's been superhuman this whole time is just that it's been dormant, and the raid suit is what kind of started to mess with him and started to bring it out. You can understand his apprehension of wanting to use abilities that was basically forced on him since birth, caused him to be ostracized by his family, to be called less than nothing, to be imprisoned underneath his own home for pretty much the majority of his childhood, even having to witness his father telling him, "You're no longer my son, you're dead to me." All these aspects of his lives that made it absolutely a nightmare. It's understandable that he wouldn't want to access that power every single second, or just have it turned on all the time. It wouldn't surprise me if that's how his mind works. Because remember, he doesn't even like to hear the name Vinsmoke, or him being called Vinsmoke Sanji, simply because he hates that name so much and everything that goes with it. And especially after witnessing what happened to Colette after she was, horrifically beaten up by his brothers, and they were just completely unfeeling about it. He doesn't want to turn into that, nor does he doesn't want to use a power that is reminiscent of his unfeeling siblings. So I'd understand if he doesn't want to have it on all the time. He can access it, but I don't think he likes to. Simply because it may remind him of his family too much. Only in dire instances. Not something he'll use all the time. Only time will tell if he'll get over his childhood trauma of his family and just accept that this is a power, but he's not his family. He's just Blackleg Sanji. He's not Vinsmoke Sanji. He's Blackleg Sanji now. So only time will tell if Sanji comes to accept these abilities he has and realize that he isn't going to turn into his siblings, be a heartless, soulless individual, because he was worried about it. He was literally worried about it to the point where he asked Zoro, "Hey, if I'm not myself when this fight is over, I need you to kill me." And then he even asks Luffy, "Hey, are you okay if I'm just this soulless individual who fights for you and just does things just by taking orders?" Questions like that, I'm paraphrasing, but you know what I mean. He questioned that sort of thing. So only time will tell if he'll truly get over the fact that this is just a part of his life now, and he'll just accept it, but use it in pursuit of Luffy getting to his goal of being the Pirate King. Now, mind you, remember, Luffy's dream is not to be the Pirate King, but being the Pirate King is a means to an end. It's just a goal he's reaching right now, but his dream is something completely different. Only time will tell if Sanji is willing to accept these abilities as a part of him and something that can help his crew reach the One Piece. Only time will tell if he'll be completely okay with it and just use it for the benefit of his crew and not see it as a detriment given to him by his family. Only time will tell. But the chapter ends with Shaka getting shot directly in the face. We've read through the notes. Onwards to chapter 1078. I feel like we've been talking about this one chapter we talked about this one chapter just for almost an hour. Yeah, Cdes, first of all, good to see you. Had to break out the jacket one more again because it's actually been a while since I last had this coat on. So this was it's a special occasion because the chapters that we got this month were absolutely phenomenal. Which devil fruit I got? None. Pure hockey. Because only hockey can transcend all. But in this chapter 1078, in Escape Limit, we have Jinbei and Stussy, which used to be Jinbei, Stussy, and Sanji before Sanji ran off and went to go help Nami. This dude's hearing is impeccable for him to know. His observation hockey range has got to be massive for him to be able to tell where Nami is and hone in on her instantly. Like, think about how honed his observation. His observation hockey works best when there's a woman involved. Ain't that crazy? Sanji's observation hockey works at its utmost best when it's women involved. If a woman is crying, this man said he can hear a woman crying from miles out and hone in to where she's at. Other times it's just basic uses. But when a woman's involved, this man will literally traverse the entire world to get to where this one woman is with pinpoint deadly accuracy. But we got Jinbei and Stussy going through the second floor of Building B as Sentomaru realizes, "Oh man, Kizaru?" And she says, "That's right. CP0's mission is to eliminate Dr. Vegapunk and wait for Kizaru to arrive. The world government sounds hell-bent on this plan. Indeed, they must see this as an even graver set of circumstances than Ohara. For one, Dr. Vegapunk has picked up and continued the forbidden research that doomed Ohara. And two, Egghead has military power that Ohara did not. Because remember, Ohara was just an entire island full of scholars. They weren't fighters. They were scholars. They valued knowledge over power. Knowledge is power when it comes to the world government and the scholars of Ohara, but they never tried to weaponize anything that they learned. They just wanted to categorize it for history. They just wanted to learn. That's all they wanted. They just wanted to learn. That's literally what all the scholars did. And it's because of Professor Clover that all of these scholars got together on one place, and they had a place where they could just learn from each other, learn together from each other. I guess CP0 didn't know Saturn was arriving. They don't even mention. That Jay Garcia is even with them. So does CP0 not even know? Because, Ogata-san, I have to agree with you. They probably don't even know that one of the Godosei themselves is heading to Egghead right now. They probably don't even know that. They probably only have been given orders, eliminate Vegapunk, kill all the satellites. But not a single one of them are privy to the knowledge that one of the Godosei, one of the elders themselves, is personally traveling with Kizaru to Egghead for reasons unknown. That's the baffling thing. Of all the times that the Godosei had to leave or even go any place individually, why is this one? Oh, my goodness. Neil Johnson, you've been a member for a year? 1 year, peoples. I would always love callbacks. Sanji taking that S-Shark fist like he took Karubi's Fishman Karate in Arlong. See, it's just Sanji, and it's like I said before about Sanji's uniqueness. This man is pretty, and it might even mean that actually might come back to what I meant before, but it might even mean that Sanji's physical capabilities are probably turned on at all times. It's just that when he gets increasingly emotional, does his eyebrows change? Because for him to get punched in the face by Jinbei and him not get phased at all, literally not get phased at all, yeah, Sanji's tougher. But thank you, Neil Johnson, for being a member for a full year. I remember when I started this whole membership thing, I was like, well, it's up there. I'm not gonna hoard anything through the different tiers or anything. It's just that if people want to support, they can, because I'd rather my stuff be out there for everyone to take part in, because I'm not in the belief of like making it so that there's members only videos and stuff like that, because I want everyone to enjoy. That's what my channel here is for. So for Neil, for you to be a member for 12 straight months, dude, thank you once again. But going back to this, the Godosei are arriving and even CP0 doesn't know. So why is Jay Garcia going there? I think I asked this question when he first showed up in the chapter, but we don't know why he's personally going there. We honestly don't know why he's going there personally. Either Jay Garcia knows Vegapunk personally, or he wants to see the complete death of Vegapunk with his own eyes. Don't leave anything up to chance. He wants to see, actually, I wouldn't be surprised if he's there to see the entire eradication of Egghead. With all the warships that are traveling to Egghead right now, I wouldn't be surprised if he wants to be there to confirm this time. Because none of the Godosei were there when the Ohara incident occurred. They just ordered it. But I wouldn't be surprised if Jay Garcia is going there this time to ensure that nothing, or Seraphim Control. Yeah, Seraphim Control as well. Because after Vegapunk, well, actually, it's the Godosei, Vegapunk, and Sentomaru, and anyone with a control chip. So if they get rid of Vegapunk, then the Godosei have complete control of the Seraphim from there. So that's another thing. Yeah, that's another thing. It'll be interesting. And they don't want the lab destroyed. That's debatable. I mean, if they don't want the lab destroyed, why are they bringing over 100 warships? That's my question. If they don't want the lab destroyed, why all the warships? If you don't want someone to escape, that's a bit overkill. Because it's 100 ships. That's a lot of ground that's going to be covered up in the ocean. I'm just saying. Especially if it's going to be those big warships that went to Enies Lobby that one time. 10 of those were massive. So if they're getting 100 of those, aren't technically Miss Buckin and Marco on their way to Egghead since she wants to prove that she was with Whitebeard, that Weevil is Whitebeard's son? Probably because one of the Yonkos is there. Those were CP0's orders. Ah, yeah. I think we'll learn the name of the kingdom that got Clover shot by the end of this arc. Look, Neil. We are in the phase where we are Egghead is like a little teaser to the final war with the amount of people on there. It really is. Egghead is like what I would call a Zoe level arc. I would call it a Zoe level arc before we get to the Wano stage of things. Before we get to the Whole Cake Island stage of things. Egghead is the Zoe arc of the final saga. I'll say that. I could see us stopping by Sphinx near Egghead and Elbaf. There's so many things still going on right now. I gotta continue. We are an hour and 2 minutes in. I gotta continue with this chapter. We'll talk. We'll have plenty of time to talk. I believe Oda wants to save the big reveals for Elbaf. I mean, given the last chapter, I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, let's be honest here. Oda keeps revealing brand new stuff to us. Feels like Sabaody. What was Sphinx again? Sphinx is the home island of Whitebeard. That's his original home. That only a few people know about, except for the world government who found him, and it took Edward Weevil to, repel the world government and the Navy from trying to go there and trying to get Whitebeard's treasure that belongs to his hometown that he kept sending it to. I always assumed it was because they were preparing to engage a Yonko and crew in the Straw Hats. Always assumed it was because they were preparing to engage a Yonko and crew in the Straw Hats. I don't think they sent all those warships just to contend with Luffy, because they had no idea that Luffy was even heading to Egghead. He just happened to be going that way. Kizaru had already departed before. This was like weeks before. Even, matter of fact, I believe it was like months before. Like months they were preparing for this. They were preparing to go to Egghead anyway. So the Straw Hats and them getting to Egghead is just another example of coincidence. Because it was coincidence that led the Straw Hats to Punk Hazard, and thus the events of Dressrosa and Wano and Zoe for the Straw Hats. It's coincidence that they came across that island. Had they not got that transmission from Kinemon trying to call somebody in, they never would have gone to Punk Hazard, and the events of Punk Hazard, Dressrosa, Whole Cake Island, Zoe, Wano, none of that would have involved the Straw Hats at all. So this is just yet another example of the Straw Hats being drawn into yet another big situation due to coincidence. But going through here, didn't they call reinforcements after Luffy arrived? No way, they brought 100 ships for Vegapunk. In fact, I think the ship at the end of 1059 might be Kizaru. Not confirmed, though. Didn't they call reinforcements? I believe so. I believe they had a good... here's the thing. They called in a whole bunch of ships, but I believe they called in more. Because they had like a whole big fleet already headed to Egghead already. They already had a big fleet, but they called in more because Luffy and the crew is there. So yeah, you're right. But Stussy, all because Luffy lost to Kid in a game of drawing lots. Can you imagine if Kid went this way instead of Luffy? Luffy would have been on his way in the direction of Elbaf, and he would have encountered Shanks before his time. Because given what the next chapter did, I still feel like it's not time for Luffy to face Shanks yet. And it wouldn't have worked. It wouldn't have worked for Kid to run into Egghead. He wouldn't have known what to do if he gone in that direction. He would have just sailed past it. Wish you could stay longer. Gotta go see John Wick. Thanks for the great content. Looking forward to year 2. Yeah, well, Neil, thank you for your continued support as a member. I greatly appreciate it. Enjoy John Wick. It is phenomenal. I will not say anything about the movie until you return, but please enjoy yourself. Oda said Law and Kid up. No matter which way they went, they would have got folded. Karma, we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about that when we get to the next chapter, but I got to continue on with this one. Go over it. Then we'll get to the last one we got this month. Because, oh my goodness, if you people thought Shanks was only a hype man before, them people ain't talking no more. But enough reason for them to send an unexpected amount of force. Just call me directly if something happens. The Labo phase's communication systems are down. Then it goes back to the Fabio phase. You heard all that? You want to know what the Navy's going to do here? Look at history. You don't have time to sit on your hands, people. Everyone onto the ships. We've got to evacuate this island before the Navy gets here. Everybody do what Sentomaru says. I don't know. There's loads of metal on Egghead. It'd be bad if Kid went to Egghead. It'd be bad either way. But at least he still have a ship. At least he'd still have a place. At least he still have somewhere to sail off on. In the arms of the angel, fly away from here. Let me stop. And the third floor of Building C, we got Frankie, who's still partially transformed, while Usopp and Lilith are being completely turned to stone. Then it cuts to Pythagoras, who's trying to walk away and sneak away from S-Snake, and she sees him, and she walks over to Pythagoras' head, and she completely crushes it. So whether Pythagoras, no, he wouldn't, the world government would have destroyed his ship. No, he wouldn't, the world government would have destroyed his ship. Maybe. But I don't know if it would have been destroyed as badly and as most disrespectfully as it was in the last chapter. I don't know. But S-Snake crushes the head of Pythagoras. Now, we don't know if destroying a satellite pretty much destroys them completely, or if they have like a secondary location that their, I wouldn't say consciousness goes to, but their main programming goes to, just in case the body is destroyed. But it just cuts to her crushing the head of Pythagoras. Then a big explosion happens directly in front of her, which I believe that she just blasts everyone. And it cuts to someone going, "No, wait, hey, stop!" And she looks over. Then it cuts back to the second floor of Building A, where it cuts to Atlas, Chopper, and Robin. And it cuts to Chopper going, "I hope everyone's all right. I keep hearing explosions and screams. We know for sure that the Seraphim are fighting. I just don't know why. Well, if Nami screams, we know there's someone who will be there in a heartbeat. Any team currently fighting will be locked in combat. So while everyone is busy battling it out, something could be happening to Vegapunk in the meantime. That reminds me, there's one lad that we used in the past, but that's been locked up for a while. I don't know why he might want to visit such a place, but let's go take a look then. Lead the way, Atlas. You got it." And then it cuts. So Atlas, Chopper, and Robin are heading to a certain section of the laboratory that is apparently locked up. So Robin and Chopper are heading there. Now, could Atlas be meaning the spot where Bonnie is? Could Atlas be meaning the room that Vegapunk has kept locked with Kuma's memories this whole time? No one knows. But it's the only locked place we've come across the entirety of the Egghead arc. It's the only locked place that Vegapunk doesn't want anyone else going in until Bonnie came along. So maybe Robin and Chopper are going to... It dropped frames for a second. I just wanted to double check. But maybe Robber and Choppin. I know what I did. maybe Robin and Chopper are heading to that same location where Bonnie is. So at least they can have Bonnie accounted for, but still try and find out where Vegapunk and everybody else is. But that's going on. Then we cut back to the third floor of Building A, where Edison is being tended to by Nami, and Brooke is watching as Sanji is just standing there completely unfazed by S-Shark punching him in the face. What would you know about the power of love? As Seraphim Jinbei is just looking completely dumbfounded and surprised that Sanji was able to survive a strike from a fishman, literally a fishman imbued with the power of a Lunarian, and also made more powerful than the person he's supposed to be a clone of. Well, I wouldn't say I wouldn't say more powerful than the original, but an exceedingly powerful clone. Sanji literally takes that punch to the face and doesn't even budge. So that just sets in my mind, oh, Sanji is fundamentally built different. He really is. After the events of Wano, his durability and superhumans, every aspect of his physical capabilities have been enhanced. Ever since his body has awakened to the modifications and genetic modifications in his body has just been taken in full stride right now. I don't know if you can turn that off anymore, because it's basically like an exoskeleton now. And I don't think you can turn it off. I think it's always on. Ever since his body's come to that full realization, there's no going back to the way he was before. So I feel like this part of him is always on now. Because this dude didn't need to focus, his face didn't get black because he hockeyed up. He just took that punch to the face, and it doesn't even show, it doesn't show any blood, it doesn't show any scuff marks. He's just looking at Jinbei like, that's all you got? Remember, fishmen have their fishman karate where you can get hit by them without them even touching you. But getting hit by a fishman it's like they apparently, how much strength do they have? 10 times the strength of a normal human? Or is it 5 times the strength of a normal human? Any number times the strength of a normal human, Sanji just got punched with. Also, mixed with the fact that he's even stronger than he's an even more powerful clone than we've seen before. And Sanji just took that punch. Just completely. Just ate it. Just head, fists met face, and face says like, what is this? What is this? What is this feather? Yes, 10 times? Thank you, I knew I was right. I knew I was right the first time. 10 times? Who knows how much more strength these Seraphim have in comparison to the average person? We know S-Hawk is incredibly strong, given how he was able to clash with Blackbeard and put him on the defensive, and also slice apart the mountain of Amazon Lily. And now we have Jinbei, who's essentially supposed to be stronger, strength-wise, than an average human, 10 times as much. Who knows how much stronger this version of Jinbei is compared to a regular fishman with 10 times strength. And Sanji took that punch to the face, unfazed. And he's all like, what would you know about the power of love? Like, that's not something you say when you get punched in the face. Average person is usually not saying anything. They're either wincing in pain, they knocked out. Or if you're a and I don't mean boxers, because when it comes to boxers, usually blows are either going towards, like, not directly in the face, not all the time, with extreme force. Sometimes there's, like, punches and jabs, like, maybe towards the side of the face, maybe trying to get at the temple to induce, like a concussion or something to cause them to get knocked out, but a straight up punch directly in the face. Mind you, this Seraphim's fist is roughly more than half the size of Sanji's face. So that's a lot of surface area being hit right there. And Sanji took it all, and just stood there with his arms crossed. Can you imagine a person just standing there with their arms crossed? They get punched in the face, and they are not fazed at all. You might as well just stop the fight. Stop the fight. Average person, this person just took my punch, didn't move. There's no visible sign of injury, and he's just smiling, asking me like, so what did you do today? I would, if I punched a person and not only did my punch do nothing, but they didn't move, they had their arms crossed, and they still want to carry on a casual conversation, I was like, look, bro, I'm sorry. I'm good. I don't want none of what you got. Because if that person can take my punch without being phased, I don't want to get hit by that person. I'd just be like, you know what? I give up. Anything I gained from trying to induce this fight, I give up. I give all my rights, my titles. I give up everything because I don't want to face what this person's about to do. It's like that one guy from Baki saying, like, are you finished yet? And he's letting these people beat up on him with all these different weapons and stuff, like, you can use any weapon you choose. And he let these people beat up on him, and he kept asking, are you done yet? Boom, 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 boom. Are you done yet? Boom, 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 boom. Are you finished yet? It's like, I don't want this person to say, like, all right, you had your hat, that was your turn, now it's my turn. I don't want to get hit by that person. So seeing Sanji be all like, what would you know about the power of love? After doing that, it's like, I don't want to see a person get hit in the face by Sanji, especially by his legs. We never see Sanji punch anybody because he only uses his legs, but I don't want to get hit by this person. It's just like, I don't want to do that. So continuing on, we are still only on page 6 through 7. We still need to continue. I need to start to speed this through because I know I keep talking, but I could easily talk about the feats that people do in One Piece that is just crazy. Especially during all the different series I've watched. Also, I am almost done with part 2 of Stone Ocean. I'm getting there. I'm almost done. I'm almost there. I do have some things to say about it because it's like, it's kind of going. It's kind of going. I understand how people feel about some of these episodes for Stone Ocean, but conversation for another time. We'll talk about that later. But it cuts to Zoro and Luffy, as Luffy says those flames on their backs are stubborn. Or no, it's Zoro who says those flames on their back are stubborn. The flames won't disappear, but Hawkeye sure did. Where did he go? He's changed his assassination priority. He'll leave the troublesome targets for later and start with the weakest instead. And if they happen to be comrades, it will be the benefit of rattling the stronger targets. And then Zoro goes, don't worry, I'll go after him. Zoro! You can go with him. You have to go with him, Usopp. He's gonna get lost. Run away. What am I, an errand boy? Wait for me, Roronoa. Gum Gum. Wait, what did you call me? So, Luffy's already given nicknames to Kaku. But it cuts to Luffy using Gum Gum Hawk Gatling to beat up on S-Bear, but nothing is working because I feel like Luffy is trying to outpunch the flames on the Seraphim. He's like, go out already, stupid fire. And I'm wondering if he's realizing that him trying to punch the flames out aren't necessarily causing a change. I'm bringing up the next chapter so that way we can go through the notes through there. But it's not exactly changing much. Not as much as he thinks it is. But going back to it, it cuts to Lucci going, use your head, Straw Hat. You're never going to beat him that way. Then it cuts to the room where Kuma's memory bubble is. The doors close, and Bonnie's in front of it. Remember, this memory bubble of Kuma is gigantic. She is easily eclipsed by the bubble's massive size. But this has been a record of the events before the day of the famous Egghead incident. But its course was set in motion 3 months prior. So, 3 months ago, this is where everything started to go down for Vegapunk. Because we find out that there's actually a mole in the Gorosei. I mean, in Vegapunk's group. Nope. I'm correcting myself right now. There's a mole in the Vegapunk's group that has been relaying information to the Gorosei. 3 months ago, Secret Marijois, I'm calling from Egghead. I want to speak to the ones in charge. Dr. Vegapunk is studying the Void Century. CP5 was dispatched to ascertain the truth, but found no evidence. Their ship mysteriously vanished after leaving Egghead. Subsequent agents were sent from CP7, then CP8, but none of them returned to the government. This is Egghead. I want to speak to the ones in charge. After a discussion between the 5 elders and an unknown figure, the genius scientist's betrayal had been made clear. The elders made the call to have Dr. Vegapunk assassinated. Cypherpole Aegis Zero undertook the mission, but anticipating a counterattack by Vegapunk, the elders chose to make a visit in person with Admiral Kizaru as protection. So here's the confusing thing. If they anticipated, I'm not sure about the timeline, but was Luffy even on Fishman Island 3 months ago by then? That's actually a really good point. Because it's really tricky to figure out the exact time frame of everything that has transpired. So for all we know, 3 months, because it's been years for us. It has been years for us in real time. But as far as we know, probably only a couple of months may have passed ever since the time skip started. It has not been a year's worth of time after the time skip, let alone 6 months. It's probably only been like a handful. Barely even a handful even. I'm not sure about the timeline. Was Luffy even on Fishman? That's the thing. The chronology of this story since the time skip started, we have no accurate way of pinpointing what year one thing starts in One Piece towards the other. We only get years ago, 3 months ago, or stuff of that nature, or several weeks later, but we don't get an accurate time frame of how much time has passed, or how many months things have passed. We don't know. People could probably piece it together, but they'll only be going off of assumption. But as it stands, for all we know, every single thing that has happened in the time skip probably could have only happened over the course of possibly 3 months. The large, almost, how many years has it been since the time skip started? Has it been like a full 10 years? I feel like it's been a while. How long ago was the return of the Straw Hats? How long ago was that? Hold on, chapter. How long ago? How long ago was volume 61? Because that's when the Straw Hats returned. The Straw Hats returned in volume 61. How long ago was that? I'm counting the amount of years that we've seen One Piece or after all this time. How long ago was that? I'm checking. Chapter 598 was October 4th, 2010. I Googled it. So 13 years. No, actually, not 13 years, but 22 years. It'll be 13 years this upcoming October. But, yeah, it's been 10 years. It's been 10 years since we started the time skip. 10 years have passed up to this point. And now we get stuff like 3 months ago in Sacred Marigeois, and we don't even know how much official time has passed in the story since the time skip started. Like, we've had days go by, weeks go by, several weeks later, or a couple of weeks later, but we don't have an accurate time of how much time has passed overall. But going back to what I was thinking before, it says that Cypherpole Aegis Zero undertook the mission to assassinate Vegapunk, but anticipating a counterattack by Vegapunk, the elders chose to make a visit in person with Admiral Kizaru as protection. Here's the confusing thing for me. Why go there in person if you're anticipating a counterattack? If you're anticipating a counterattack, why go there in person as an elder and possibly put yourself at risk? That's what I'm wondering. Why personally go there while you're anticipating an attack? Mind you, Kizaru is pretty good protection. I mean, it's Kizaru. But why go there in person and potentially put yourself at risk? Because you don't know 100% what could go down if a counterattack happens. Any number of things could happen. So why go down there personally unless there's something else that's going on that the Godosei are keeping privy to only themselves? I know it's a bit of an assumption to think that the Godosei have ulterior motives, but that's pretty much how they built up the world. Ulterior motives. So I wouldn't be surprised if Jay Garcia is going there for a reason other than, like, what is the reason you're going there? That's the thing. If you're anticipating a counterattack, why not just send overwhelming force? Why go there personally? Unless there's something else that you, as an elder, need to see through. Those CP5 and CP7 agents probably don't even know Kaido and Big Mom were defeated. I mean, they were over there. God knows how long. 3 months ago, Sycamore CP5 was dispatched to ascertain the truth, but found no evidence. That's just my guess, but I think that's what I said is very unlikely. But my thing is, like, first of all, can we talk about the resilience of these CP5 and CP7 agents and CP8 agents and how they managed to last that long and survive with no food or no sustenance? They were just basically put inside of that chamber to die a slow and painful death. No food, no sustenance, anything like that. They're just there to die, and they've been there for God knows how long. Probably months. CP agents are kind of built different if they're able to survive without starving. Because the average person, this might end up being yet another morbid internet search I do. All right, so as a result of discontinuing eating, okay, let's see. In general, it is likely that a person could survive between 1 and 2 months without food. Okay, how long can a human go without eating? Although it seems possible to survive without food and drink within its time span of 8 to 21 days, if a person is only deprived of food, the survival time may even go up to about 2 months, although this is influenced by many factors. Yeah, the Cypher Poles are strong. It's just the magnitude of strong characters we've seen they lack in comparison. Pretty much. Alright, if you go long without eating, you will use up the glucose in your system and then enter ketosis. During ketosis, your body switches to an alternate fuel source, ketones, which your body makes from fat. So I'm not trying to look at people who are fasting and it's all like, I'm only eating this, I'm only eating that. I'm looking into what happens if you don't have food for months. And most often the case is your body starts to break down. So for these Cypher Pole agents to still be alive after all this time, and they still have enough strength that says like, please help us and move just a little bit, even albeit small. Yeah, they're strong in regards to basic human functionality and survivability, but it's just that, like Halster said, we have seen so many people do so many crazy things that them being able to survive all that time is basically minuscule in comparison to what we've witnessed in this entire series thus far. But anticipating a counterattack by Vegapunk, the elders chose to make a visit in person with Admiral Kizaru as protection. Reinforcements were requested from naval bases far and wide. The deployment made it clear that they were expecting war. So, here's the thing that makes me think that not every single ship was called in because the Straw Hats were at Egghead. A lot of these ships were called in because they were preparing for war against Egghead itself. And into that situation sailed the ship of Straw Hat Luffy, Emperor of the Sea. The arrival of this unexpected variable unsettled the government, to say the least. But regardless, the resolution of this incident the following day would inflict a kind of shock the world never saw coming. So, here's the thing. We have not seen that resolution yet. The resolution of this incident the following day, the day after everything settles on Egghead, that's when the world is going to get shocked, and that's when we're going to get shocked. Because we're still ongoing on Egghead. The resolution of this incident the following day would inflict a kind of shock the world never saw coming. And then it cuts back to the moment where Shaka was shot in the face, and it cuts to this person saying, like, was this all you're doing? Answer me. And as this person gets closer and closer and walks inside, we find out that the person that shot Shaka was York herself. An individual that I, at the time, thought was completely petrified and potentially destroyed, but no. She's the one who orchestrated every bad thing that's happening in the Labo phase right now. Communications being down, people being hunted down by the Seraphim, Shaka getting shot in the face. She orchestrated all of that, saying, hey, Stella, you know what? I'm going to be a celestial dragon. Now, when I said this initially, I was incredibly confused. Because how does it work for a person who is not already a celestial dragon to become one? It is not something that you can just buy your way into or even bribe your way into. Doflamingo couldn't even become a celestial dragon anymore, but he exercised, flexing on the celestial dragons back then by having knowledge of their most treasured secret, their most treasured national treasure. He had knowledge of that. So they allowed him to enjoy the benefits of being like a celestial dragon, but no longer being within that world. So my thing is, why does York think that she's just going to be accepted as a celestial dragon, or it's just going to be that simple? And Vegapunk, what nonsense is this, York? You went to Marijois years ago, and you really want to be one of those ghastly horde people? My thing is, these satellites have been around for a hot minute. For him to say that York went to Marijois. So obviously, all the satellites, including Vegapunk, possibly went to Marijois back then before. And I guess, York, being the moniker of being York the Greedy, saw the power that the Celestial Dragons had and maybe coveted it for herself. Because at the time, I didn't think anything of York being called York the Greedy. I just thought it meant, she's greedy with food because she functions. I'm sorry, I kind of spit a little bit like that. I just thought that she was greedy in the aspect of she's greedy with food and she's the glutton of the group since she does she's basically the EPS satellite that handles that function. So I didn't think anything of her being greedy on a power scale, on a mental scale, on a selfishness scale, on wanting all the power for herself type of deal. I didn't think any of that at the time. But seeing this, where she says, I'm going to be a celestial dragon, and she says, if he were, Vegapunk says, and you really want to be one of those ghastly horde people? And she says, just what Shaka would say if you weren't dead already. It's so complicated when everyone is Vegapunk. The world only needs one Vegapunk. And this is where we understand that York is not just greedy in food, but she's greedy in ambition. Where she sees, you know what? The world doesn't need all these Vegapunks. The world only needs one. Me. And she's pretty much the reason why everything is going bad right now. She's the one who's been in contact with the Gorosei, letting them know that Vegapunk was looking into the Void Sentry. You was mindful of York's personality until you saw that she was a baddie. She's a 10-foot tall one. 10 foot tall. She's taller than Brooke. Even Brooke is looking all like, hello. Like, that's how tall she is. York is massive. Lady Domitrescu would look at her as all like, She would look, that's how big York is. York is a big woman. She's a tall woman. I'm so sad I didn't guess who the traitor was. Your simp levels were too high that you was hoping it wasn't one of the female Vegapunks, so I crossed them out even with all the logic hinting it to be York. See, that's what happens. That's what happens. Thickness makes the brain thick. It makes mental capacities thick. Thickness can make one's brain process thick as well. That's a fact. That is a fact. The right amount of thickness can make the mind thick. It'll cloud your judgment. Make you see things that aren't there. Dismiss facts. Blind you. Thickness has such a psychological effect on the human mind. It's not even, it's crazy. This should be researched because so many people will literally stop thinking rationally with the right amount of thickness. Ain't that something? This isn't just a thing that selects that affects a select few. This selects thousands, if not millions, of people. And we don't have a big logical explanation for it. We just saw like, woman thick, me not think too much, me just see thickness, me excuse all problems. That's exactly what it is. Ain't that insane? Ain't that insane how the brain works that way? So, going back to this, she says that the world only needs one Vegapunk. So, going off of this chapter and going off of the... Dang it, you had one job. You literally had one job. There we go. There. Going to the notes, this is the last chapter of the cover story, Germa 66's Animal. Oh, right, that is. It is. It is the last time we see the and Emotionless excursion. Huh. I didn't pay attention to that. So, because that would explain it was the last one since we got like a cover page request, which we haven't gotten in several months. We haven't gotten a cover page request drawn in several months. That's what we get in the next chapter. I need to hurry up, though. This is the last chapter of the cover story, Germa 66's An Emotionless Excursion. You're right, Kyushu. Even I started thinking it was either Emu, Saturn, or the Blackbeard Pirates. I was thinking, like, y'all brought it up that it could have been Saturn, but that would imply that he was wearing Dom shoes. And since he knows Vegapunk, he probably wouldn't have put himself at that disadvantage, so I ruled him out. But it had to be someone that was wearing Dom shoes. And I couldn't tell if it was a Seraphim that did it, or if it was one of the satellites that did it. But we were automatically ruled out of Pythagoras and Shaka when they were both, like, one got shot in the head, and the other got their head crushed. So that ruled them both out. And for a while, people really stuck with Shaka being the traitor, even though he's technically supposed to be the good aspect of Vegapunk's personality. Stussy reveals to Sentomaru the real secret behind the world government's attack on Egghead. Sentomaru orders the residents to evacuate before the Marines led by Kizaru arrive. So, like y'all said, it's basically Sabaody all over again. An admiral's coming? Everyone run! That's basically what it is. Frankie is still partly active as only his right side was petrified. S-Snake steps on Pythagoras' head. Sanji proves himself to be immune to any of S-Shark's attacks. Brook enters his soul form in order to look for Vegapunk. So that's what Brook is currently doing right now. He's looking for Vegapunk, Nami is tending after Edison, and Sanji is just letting S-Shark vent out his frustration on his face. And Sanji's all like, is that all? He's basically like SpongeBob at the end of that episode where that one fish was just punching him over and over, and he's all like, did you hear me? I said I'm ready. And Sanji's just getting punched in the face over and over again, but nothing is working against him. A fishman's attack is no longer effective on him. Remember when he had a little bit of difficulty? Speaking of Shaka, remember the Yeti Cool brothers shot Brownbeard and he was clean? Just remember that, people. That's true, but the difference is Brownbeard was a living individual. We don't know to what extent Shaka is actually alive. And mind you, there's not many people that really survive getting shot in the face in this story. Unless they're a Logia user. So, I mean, Brownbeard is one thing, but Brownbeard wasn't shot in the face. Shaka was. And a lot of the significant people we come across that get shot in the face, I mean, the last person that we witnessed getting shot in the face was Odin. And he's gone. Gone. So it's, I don't know. We'll just have to see. We'll just have to see if Shaka is really gone or if this is just like a temporary setback. But going through, Atlas speculates where Vegapunk might be imprisoned and leads Robber, and I did it again! And leads Robin and Chopper towards it. S-Hawk has disappeared. Zoro and Kaku head after him. Bonnie is crying over Kuma's memories. It is revealed that the world government's actions on Egghead and the events of what is to be known as the Egghead incident began 3 months ago when information was leaked by a traitor. Also, can we speak of that gun York has? I didn't expect it to be that massive. Her gun is That's a really good point. The gun that York has is as tall as Vegapunk. In the hands of a person, that might as well be a cannon. Like an extra large blunderbuss. But since it's York, it's a pistol in her hands, but it's a cannon in everyone else's. That's how big York is. Her regular size gun is massive compared to the average standing person. Like, it's literally a cannon in the hands of anyone else. Her gun is huge. So going back, it is revealed it was leaked by a traitor. York approaches Vegapunk and Shaka's body while holding a pistol. York reveals herself to be the traitor and her desire to become a world noble. I can't speak today. And her desire to become a world noble as the sole Vegapunk. So that was chapter 1079. Let's move on to the last chapter that we got for today, chapter 1079, and it was a good one. It was a really good one. So, this is chapter 1079, The Emperor's Crew, the Red-Haired Pirates. Ogata-san, once again, I want to thank you for warning me about not reading the title until after I had finished going through it, because it made reading that chapter title out so satisfying. It was really satisfying, so thank you for that. I didn't look at it, I just pressed on. So, it shows that hours earlier, before everything went down, York was talking to the Seraphim going, the problem is, the world government isn't just erasing the Stella, they decided to erase me too. Well, I've got a plan of my own then. First, I want you all to go around and get rid of all the obstacles for me. Now that the Frontier Dome is closed, go ahead and kill everyone, except for me, the Stella, and the people underground. So, the only people who are immune to being killed off is her, the original Vegapunk, and the CP agents that are still imprisoned down there. And all of the Seraphim just say, yes, understood. Then she says, now, when you start causing a ruckus, they're going to be looking for the culprit, wondering who gave you orders. And I don't want them to figure out it was me, because I'm not strong enough to beat the others. So, S-Snake, I want you to pretend to beat me while they're watching. Okay. And then undo your power when they're not. Okay. Also, I'm going to warn you about the place in the laboratory you're not supposed to destroy. So, when they started attacking the laboratory, they deliberately left off a section that there's a part of the laboratory that they're not supposed to destroy. So, I wonder, I don't think it's the Devil Fruit Research Lab underneath where everyone is right now, where where Stella, Shaka's body, the CP agents, and York is right now. I wonder if it happens to be that location, the location with Kuma's memory bubble. I don't know. We don't know the exact location of where she's telling them that you should not destroy whatsoever. So we don't get that. But it cuts to S-Snake as she goes, all right, let the hunt begin, as she's flying off. She's flying off through the laboratory. Now, like I said, can't tell if she's using her wings to fly or if she's using the Dom Shoes jetpack feature to do that. But it cuts back to another location, which looks completely unscathed. Well, I wouldn't say completely unscathed, but it cuts to the entrance to the Labo phase, and it just looks like there's so much devastation. And there's explosions still happening on Egghead, and it cuts to Sentomaru going, so it's been 2 to 3 hours since 1073 to 1074. Law might be packed up since it was 10 chapters prior to that. It's anyone's guess, and it's definitely on the minds of people, especially the Blackbeard pirates, because as Sentomaru is saying, hurry, onto the ships, evacuate Egghead, get to safety. As we see people evacuating onto ships to get away from Egghead, we see one of the ships of the Blackbeard pirates on the outskirts of the island. We don't see who's sailing this particular ship. I don't know if it's Blackbeard's main ship or it's one of its captains, because all of his captains have their own individual log-shaped ship. They all have their own individual ship that looks just like their original log raft they had going. So, but we don't know which one this is, but we do know that they sail under we do know it's one of them because, I mean, only the Blackbeard pirates sail with that one particular flag. So, yeah. Then we cut to Warland in Elbaf, where we witness, sorry if I'm too close to my mic, where we witness one of the biggest body slams in One Piece, where we witness an individual take one of the biggest L's after appropriating and getting his biggest W since he's ever appeared in this series, where they do, as far as I know, I think they get their own personal ship. Last time I checked, they get their own ship that is just like their log rafts. I think because we've seen them where their fleet are sailing around with their fleets sail around and they have their own individual ships that look like their old ships. Unless I'm wrong and I'm just stuck on that. Blackbeard pirates. All right, let me see. Crew members, territory, strength, members. Show me the ship. Yes. All right, here we go. All right. After the time skip, they have gained a signature ship called the Saber of Zebek. They have obtained numerous ships as each of the 10 Titanic captains have command over a ship. Currently, 2 ships have been seen, and they now resemble actual battleships, although they have a large log on each side, which resembles the original raft. So it's not completely their ship, it's not completely their old gigantic log raft that they used to have, but their ships have logs on either side. So it has to be one of them, because two of their ships they're basically giant battleships with 2 giant logs on the side. So it could be any one of the captains. Any one, because it clearly says that they have command over over a ship, over one of these ships. So it could be either one of the 10 Titanic captains heading there. Could be Kuzan, could be Avalo Pizarro, it could be Vasco Schott, could be Katarina Devon, because Van Auger, Burgess, Doc Q were with Blackbeard when they encountered Law. The rest of them, we don't know where they're at. Vasco Schott and Katarina Devon were with Blackbeard when they went to Amazon Lily, but that happened beforehand. But we don't know. I know Kaido's crew have their own individual ships like Queen, King, and Queen, Jack, and Speed. But the Titanic captains, they have their own ship. They just resemble the raft a little bit with logs on the side. But that is the Blackbeard Pirates. We cut to Elbaf, where Kid is right there in front of Shanks's fleet. And we get introduced to Captain of the Puddle Pirates, Frogtoes Rivatini. We get introduced to Social Club band leader, Fugar the Adventurer. We get Princess of the Bourgeois Pirates, Pururu the Brave. And Kid is all like, are they serious? Is this really Shanks' crew? And then Killer's going like, still there are some famous names among them. Don't get sloppy. So even though there's some people that don't seem all that strong, there's some famous names amongst Shanks' own fleet crew that are significant enough for Killer to be all like, yeah, don't get sloppy. And Killer goes, I wasn't going to go easy on them, even if they are nobodies. Then it cuts to Shanks going, hey, move those ships out of the way. What do you mean, Captain? We won't let them lay a finger on you. I know, I appreciate it, but move all the ships. And then it cuts to some other people going, are you leaving already, Captain? Just when we finally saw you. It was only supposed to be a pit stop. Instead, I stuck around long enough for a big shot to show up. Get off and let me walk and move those ships. Remember, I hit a wrong button again. Remember, my affiliates, why does it every time I go to the right, it skips several whole chapters? What in the world, Viz? Remember, my affiliates are famous for being weak. Tell us how you really feel, Captain. That's why we're still alive, because your flag protects us. Worry less about dying from combat and more from old age, Crone Ollie. Stuff that sassy mouth of yours, Captain. See, the thing about Shanks and how he presents himself amongst people that follow him, and even his whole crew members, it's all about camaraderie. It's all about camaraderie. He is chill with everyone. Even when he's giving them direct orders and being sassy with them, they're not scared to be sassy back because Shanks is not the vindictive type. He's not the type to like, don't you dare speak to me in that sort of way because he's chill. He's chill. It's only when you threaten people that are close to him that he gets involved. Case in point, when what is his name? Higurama? Higurama? The bandit dude. What is his name? Higuram? No. Don't say it. Let me learn. Higuma. Is it Higuma? Yeah, Higuma. The bandit dude that showed up and roughhoused Shanks and his crew, they didn't think anything of it, even though Luffy was against it. But when they threatened Luffy and they stole him, they didn't mind gunning down a dude right then and there because they were threatening his friends. They're not you're close? Yeah, don't worry, I got it. Higuma. But Shanks has never been the individual who's like, I'm the strongest, and he knows he's the strongest, and he just lords that sort of knowledge over people. People just follow him because he just allows them to. My affiliates are known for being weak. Do you know how big you have to be as a pirate to have a fleet full of weak people, but no one wants to touch those weak people because they are linked back to you? These weak pirate crews are free to sail the seas simply because they are carrying Shanks' flag with them. And they're protected because it's Shanks. None of them are, no one wants to touch them because Shanks is is linked to them. Even though they're weak. And people know they're weak, but they dare not question it because they're a part of Shanks' crew. If I could choose any person to sail with, it'd be with Shanks. Because I'm the least likely to die if I'm around him. But, Lucky Roo says, don't worry, Captain, we'll handle it. Come on, he's worth $3 billion. Don't underestimate how fast these young guns can grow. I love, and I said this to Gagio, I love how he's saying, like, come on, he's worth $3 billion. Don't underestimate how fast these young guns can grow. And This man is giving compliments to how fast someone like Kid can grow in terms of strength and in terms of notoriety. And then we get the last panel then we get the second to last panel, well, third to last panel of this chapter, and it's like, oh, this man was kind of subtly making fun of him a little bit, wasn't he? But he says, are they healed up from the fight in Wano already? He seems healthy enough to me. He's raring to fight. Well, that's good. You get any intel on Blackbeard? Nope, just that he's left Pirate Island. So it just shows that Shanks has been keeping tabs on Blackbeard this whole time. Even though he went to Wano, and mind you, I looked up Shanks' capabilities. This man's Conqueror's Haki is so potent and so strong that he was miles out at sea from Wano, and it was enough to paralyze Aramaki Ryokugyu with fear from all the way out there. So he's powerful, ridiculously powerful. But back when he says, Law was right, you survive the New World by living under the 4 emperors or go against them. Yeah, and this chapter pretty much solidified that fact by Law. But it just shows that Shanks has been keeping tabs on Blackbeard this whole time. This whole time he's been watching and trying to find as much information on Blackbeard as he could because he's watching him. He's watching him! And then, nope, just that he's left Pirate Island. That's as far as they know. As far as they know, Blackbeard has left Pirate Island. Mind you, Garp is going to Pirate Island. We don't know where Blackbeard is. We don't know where every single member of his crew, except for one that's currently on the outskirts of Egghead, is. Where everyone else is and what they're doing right now during the events of Egghead right now is unknown. It's crazy that we got all these different massive players that could very, very well decide the fate of the entire world by the end of One Piece, and they're just out there doing their own thing until Oda decides to go back to them. That's a scary thought. Blackbeard's out there doing whatever he wants. We don't know what. We just know he's out there. And Shanks is looking for him. I was sure he'd show up in Wano. So my thing is, what kept Blackbeard from going to Wano? If Shanks is saying I was sure he'd show up in Wano, what kept him from going there? Was it him going to Amazon Lily at the time? Was that it? Was he going to Amazon Lily instead of Wano like Shanks was hoping he would? Law was right. You survived the New World by living under the 4 emperors or going against them. Actually, I think that was Hawkins. I think that was Hawkins who said that. He was saying that to Killer before Killer cut his arm off and saved Kid. I think that was Hawkins who said that. Because he was the one who said that after that's the reason why he joined with Kaido. You survive the New World by living under the 4 emperors or you go up against them. I think that may have been Hawkins. I could be wrong. Someone will correct me if I'm wrong. I'm probably wrong. But looking at the past chapters, I don't think Law was right. Well, yeah, given the past chapters, his fate is left unknown, and people are worried for the moment where Blackbeard may just say, room. Like, if Blackbeard shows up and he says room, that's it. It's over. If Blackbeard shows up and he says room, it's over. It's over for Law. There's nothing else that can be said. If he shows up and says room, Law is dead. Plain and simple. But if Law is alive, thank God. But if Blackbeard shows up and he says room, I feel like the internet is going to have a field day if Blackbeard shows up and he says room. I feel like the world is not, I feel like us as One Piece fans are not ready for the thought that Law is no longer a part of the story. I don't think none of us are, because Law has already become a big, massive fan favorite. But he apparently is just now, going back to the chapter here, because we're almost done. Going back to the chapter here, Shanks says, nope, that you got any intel on Blackbeard? Nope, just that he's left Pirate Island. I was sure he'd show up in Wano. Here's Captain Kid's data. And this is the first time that Shanks is looking at information on Kid. You want to know how little of an impact Kid had on Shanks the very first time he tried to go up against him? Shanks doesn't even know the full details about Kid until right now. Think about how insignificant you have to feel as an individual to know that the person you try to go over doesn't know anything about you until your second appearance. His crew clearly didn't tell him everything there was to know about Kid. Ben Beckman took care of Kid and his crew beat them to a pulp, and apparently Shanks was none the wiser because he's asking him like, okay, what's the information on Kid? Like it's the first time he's looking into this dude. So apparently, if we're going off of this assumption, this is the first time that Shanks is encountering and even being interested in Kid enough to learn about him in the first place. Which means that Ben Beckman and whoever was with him, if it wasn't just Ben Beckman himself, took care of Kid and his crew, sent them packing, and Shanks never knew. Or they never explained the details of it to him. So for Shanks to be all like, from the South Blue, looks like he's been in plenty of scrapes. Like, this is the first time that Shanks is learning about anything about Kid? That's how far up the ladder Kid had to go. And he didn't even reach that far. Because imagine going there as Kid, and you try to take on Shanks. You fail and lose your arm in the process. By not even Shanks, you don't even get to see him, but you get taken down by his first mate who takes your arm off completely. And apparently I looked into Ben Beckman. The man can in fact use hockey on his bullets, which makes him a definitive threat to Logia users, and the reason why Kizaru refused to fight him the first time. Because Ben Beckman can use hockey on his own ammunition. So that's the reason why. That's straight up confirmation right there. Ben Beckman is capable of contending with any and all Logia users, simply because he can use hockey to infuse his own bullets. The same way that the Kuja can use hockey to infuse their own arrows. Ben Beckman can do the same thing. To be fair, that was during the time skip while Luffy was training his hockey. Sure, yeah, that's true. That's true. But still, the fact that Kid didn't even get to Shanks at all. And Shanks didn't even know about Kid until learning about him right now. Like, he just got a cheat sheet for Kid. And he's all like, he's from the South Blue. Looks like he's been in plenty of scrapes. You would think if Shanks knew about Kid, he wouldn't have to look at this information. He'd just know. He wouldn't need a refresher, because a lot of things Shanks remembers vividly. He doesn't have like a terrible memory or anything like that. So this is the first time Shanks is learning about Kid showing up. The red-haired pirates are so thorough to keeping things from getting to their captain that Shanks is just now learning about this individual who tried to run up on them the first time. He's just now learning about it. Though you do make a valid point and argument, like that's just, I mean, that's just how I see things, Holster. But he says, from the South Blue, looks like he's been in plenty of scrapes. How many ships? 9, and I see a few faces from bounty posters. I don't care who they are. I'll wipe them out in 10 seconds flat with my darn punk! And then he charges up his darn punk, which is basically a gigantic railgun, which is powerful enough to cause injury to even Big Mom. And he's charging it up so much that it's starting to pull other ships towards him. I couldn't really make sense of what this sentence means. Does it mean that his ship is being pulled towards them, or are their ships being pulled towards Kid? That's the one thing I couldn't really piece together or what it meant. But Shanks, using Future Sight, jumps off of his ship because using Future Sight, he sees that Kid is about to inflict some massive casualties on his crew. Not just the red-haired pirates, but also the fleet as well. Well, mainly it's the fleet. It's mainly the fleet. Numerous members that sail under Shanks, because you don't see the Red Force getting hit by this attack. He just foresees that many ships are about to be absolutely destroyed and blasted. People's bodies are going to get blown apart by this. And it's just going to show an image of his fleet being his fleet being sinking into the sea. And he sees that, I knew it. And the thing is, he jumps all the way from his ship straight over to where Kid is. Yeah, the ships are being pulled to the Victoria Punk. I felt that's what it was. Being pulled towards the Victoria Punk, and then he blasts all 9 of them. But it shows that there are multiple blasts, which means that there are multiple blasts. It isn't just one singular blast, but it's multiple. So that makes me think, Okay, so has Kid learned how to use rapid fire on his darn punk now? Because it shows multiple shots at the same time happening on different ships, and it isn't like multiple ships being hit in multiple panels. It's just, it shows one panel where multiple ships are being hit rapidly in quick succession, as if they're being hit at the same time. So did he learn how to split his shots off? Did he learn how to shoot rapidly? But regardless, Shanks jumps from his ship in an instant. I can't even snap. In an instant, he jumps from his ship, the Red Force, all the way over to the Victoria Punk before Kid can do anything. And Shanks takes out his sword Griffin and says, "Divine Departure." And Kid can only look on in horror as multiple members of his crew start to get knocked out from the massive output of Conqueror's Haki, as Kid and Killer get slashed through in an instant. Kid's gun gets sliced through cleanly, and all we see is just Kid getting hit full force with this attack. Then there's a massive explosion that happens on the Victoria Punk. Kid gets knocked backwards, blood spewing, and he falls to the ground. Other members of the Kid Pirates, they get launched into the air from the massive output of force from this attack. And then Shanks is just walking towards Kid. Now, the way this looks, it looks like the entire ship itself got split apart. Like the deck of the ship, this doesn't look like blood to me, but it looks like even the deck of the ship couldn't even withstand this amount of power, because as Shanks is walking towards Kid in this panel, it shows like this massive crack. This massive jagged crack going from where Kid is past him. At least he got to see Shanks this time. Kid could only survive being a mouth for so long. Ogata-san, you're not wrong. It's always the one who screams the loudest who hit the weakest. It's always the ones who scream the loudest who has the least amount of impact. Now, mind you, I'm not going to dismiss the fact that Kid helped bring down one of the most powerful pirates that have existed in One Piece, Big Mom, who's already known for her massive, overwhelming strength and her almost Kaido-like durability. But I feel like that victory and seeing his bounty reach up to 3 million made Kid overly cocky. He was always cocky, always been cocky. And he really didn't care what anyone felt about him. And he would brutalize anyone who either laughed at Killer or made fun of him in any way. He would brutalize everyone. But you can only get by so far being loud and boisterous. Loud and boisterous and thinking that all it takes is for me to just kill these people and then I've won. And it's like, you need to think for a moment. Take a step back. Maybe reflect on your past actions. But it's like you said, you could only survive being a loudmouth for so long. And this chapter pretty much proved that, hey, Kid's here, but he can be gone and eradicated in an instant. He's not the main character. His livelihood is not mandatory. But it shows Kid getting hit by Shanks, Shanks walking towards him, and he's just staring at him, and Shanks is still outputting Conqueror's Haki from this, because it's still, even though the attack is over, because Divine Departure is basically a Conqueror's Haki infused straight slash. That's all it is. It's not the strongest that Roger can do, certainly not the strongest that Shanks can do. But when the attack is used, or when Conqueror's Haki is used in the attack, Black Lightning is always shooting off. But the attack is over, and yet, as Shanks is walking up towards Kid, that lightning, that same appearance of Conqueror's is still going. Which means that he's still outputting his own Conqueror's Haki, while the whole time to ensure that no one moves. Because if the attack was over, then the Conqueror's Haki infusion would be over and the Black Lightning wouldn't be constantly going. But the lightning is still going while Shanks is standing there over Kid. And Killer got hit with this as well. As we cut to some people who run up to Kid going, "It got Killer too when he stepped in to protect him. The captain's not moving. He's dying." Shanks pretty much almost killed Kid. One-shot him. We surrender, Red Hair. Spare our lives. Don't kill our captain. These are our road poneglyphs, all of them. And it just shows Kid laying on his back. Unmoving. Status unknown. I'm not calling him dead, but his status is unknown. But given where they end up at the end of the chapter, they might as well be dead. Kid got a divine departure out of the story. I couldn't think of a better way to phrase it. I still think Kid is alive, though. I feel like most of his crew may be wiped out, but I don't see him, Killer, or even Heat and Wire dying. But there is a concern about where they end up, because Shanks ignores them. He jumps off of Kid's ship back to his. And then it cuts to some other members of the Kid Pirates who see Dory and Broggy gearing up with Dory going, hey, tiny humans, if you want to point your guns at our home, just remember, what goes around comes around. And they pretty much destroy the entire Victoria Punk with Hakoku's sovereignty. Don't even think if Shanks, don't even know if Shanks even took the rope poneglyphs. We don't know if he took them. We don't know if he took them. We don't know if he took them. We just see him standing there. We don't see his hand going to take it. We just see him standing on the ship, and then one of his crew members going, over this way, Captain, and him just jumping over to it. We don't even know if he took them. We don't know. We don't. But the Victoria Punk is completely destroyed, split apart by this one combination attack from Dory and Broggy, and then we get the narration. At Elbaf, in the New World, the 3 billion bounty pirate Eustace Captain Kidd and his Kid Pirates destroyed. So let me come back here to where I think this is an even graver situation that Kidd finds himself in. Because remember, Kidd's a devil fruit user. And if all of his members are knocked out and are unconscious and they're sinking and there's no one to go in the water to get Kidd, that's basically a death sentence. Because every single one of them get knocked into the ocean. The ship sinks and every single crew member with them. And if someone doesn't get Kidd out of the water, then he's basically dead. He's basically dead. If they don't get him out of the water, he's dead. He's not like Jack. He's not part fishman where he can survive. Because Jack is the only person who can survive being underwater as a devil fruit user. He just can't move. Can Killer swim? I don't know. Does eating a smile fruit give you the weaknesses of a devil fruit power if it doesn't actually give you a devil fruit power? Because that's the thing I was wondering. Killer ate a smile. So does that mean he gets the side effects of that? This needs to be further research. And I really do need to wrap this up though, because me and Gajil, we need to test out our audio for the upcoming stream at 3. So let me see. Killer, Jack, and Vanderdecken. Yeah, but no, smile users can't swim. Jack and Vanderdecken. Yeah, they're the only ones who can't move. They're the only people who can survive being underwater as devil fruit users, but they still can't move because the weakness still exists for them. It still exists for them. So let me see. Okay, let me see. Let me go down to his abilities. Physical abilities. Okay, so all it says is like after eating a failed smile, Killer lost his ability to swim and to show other expressions beside a smile. Eating a smile fruit renders you incapable of swimming. So not only does eating a defective smile that doesn't give you powers also force you to constantly smile and express joy and no other emotion, but it also still robs you of the ability to swim. So not only is Kid at risk, but Killer is at risk as well because of eating that smile. So unless one of their crew members are capable of going and grabbing them and pulling them out of the water, right now, both Kid and Killer are dead. Because neither one of them can swim. But the chapter just ends with the Kid Pirates being pronounced destroyed. Utterly destroyed. Well, not utterly destroyed, but it just says that they're destroyed. So now let me go down to this last page. I think a giant that respects Kid will save him and his crew for taking down Big Mom. We'll see. We'll see. But as it stands right now, the Kid Pirates are not going to have as big of an impact on the world as they once thought they did. Because like I said before, the pirate ship is just as important to the crew than, their flag. Loki will save them. Who knows? We don't know. But unless something happens, Kid and Killer are basically dead. Unless something happens. But going through this, quick notes for this chapter. I'll say my piece, and then I'll call it a session. Let's see if I can get done by 2:30. A flashback occurs where, before they began attacking, York spoke to the Seraphim. York realized the world government wanted to betray her, thus she ordered the Seraphim to kill everyone on Egghead except herself, Vegapunk, and the Sarfapol hostages. York had also given S-Snake orders to pretend to defeat her, then undo the petrification when no one was looking, as she wanted to keep her actions secret since she was not strong enough to defeat her former allies on her own. York also orders S-Snake to avoid a specific place on the island. Sentomaru continues the evacuation. A Blackbeard pirate ship is approaching Egghead. The Kid Pirates face off against the Red Hair Pirates. Attempt to face off against the Red Hair Pirates would be far more accurate. Kid prepares to fire his darn punk technique at the Red Hair Pirates' subordinate ships. Shank uses future vision to intercept Kid before he can attack. What type of word is that? That's not even a word. Shanks uses Kamusari to take out both Kid and Killer in one blow. To protect their captain, the other Kid Pirates offer to turn over the road poneglyph copies to Shanks, though Shanks ignores them. Dory and Broggy destroyed the Victoria Punk using Hakoku, and the Kid Pirates are announced to be utterly destroyed. This is where we stand, ladies and gentlemen. I can turn my phone off and just look at all of you. This is where we stand in the world of One Piece. The Yonkos are making their moves in this final saga. No one is exempt from being eradicated. No one is exempt from being embarrassed. Doesn't matter if you just healed up from having one of the biggest fights in your life. Getting into another fight with an individual who we've seen that many regarded to be just like a straight up hype man for so long. And then he just one-shots you, your first mate, and has your entire crew and its ship destroyed right then and there. We are entering into a phase where the weak, and I say weak with quotations because Kid is strong, but apparently this chapter just shows that he's not strong enough, where the weak are being weeded out, and only those who are truly going to have an impact on the future of the world are going to be the ones who are still left standing. Because if Kid was truly going to have, and here's me saying this as we get to the end of this chapter for this month, who knows what's going to appear in April? Who knows what's going to happen in May, June, July? Who knows what's going to happen? Kid can make a surprise return at some point. But as it stands right now, those who have no significance at the moment are currently being weeded out. It was nice for Kid to help Law bring down Big Mom. But now his part in the story is no longer necessary at this present time. So what does Oda do? Just wipes the floor with the entire Kid Pirate crew in one shot, destroys their ship, the ship that they've been using for who knows how many years, and they're just utterly destroyed. Now we just need Yonko Buggy to make a move. Who knows where we're going to end up after this episode of Shanks? Who knows where we're going to end up? I have no faint idea about where we're going to end up after this. Because how do you go from Shanks destroying an entire pirate crew of a person who just gained 3 billion bounties, 3 billion berries. This man just got this bounty. Feeling like he's living the high life. Yes, I'm a 3 billion berry 3 billion berry bounty man now. Now it's time to go after the object of our partnership. Now it's time to go after Red Hair. Red Hair literally was just there chilling until Kid showed up and is all like, I just wanted to make a pit stop, and now I stayed here far too long, and now Big Shot's here. I'm gonna kill all of them. And it's like, Shanks literally had no time to mess with him. He knew the destruction that Kid was going to have over his entire crew, but he just he just bodied both Kid and Killer at the same time. Do you know how strong you got to be for your attack to not only go through one person, but hit another person, and both of y'all are on death's door from that one attack? As if that person's body was not even there in front of you. You realize how badly that means you've been beaten? Imagine if the Cross Guild breaks into Impel Down and gets Doflamingo and Weevil out of there. Unlikely, but interesting. We still have so many players in the story of One Piece who are out there doing their own thing. We don't know what their motives are, their true end goals, how it's all going to play into the final battle of One Piece, whether someone's going to die, because someone is going to die again in this series. Another person is going to die. Oda said it. So like, oh, this person met that person. I hope no one dies. Many people could interpret that being Kid running into Shanks and then getting bodied that way. He could have been teasing that whole time. My question is, who attacked first? Because if the Kid Pirates attack first, okay, it's justified. But if Shanks' fleet attack first, I think they kind of deserve to be annihilated. Well, it shows Shanks showing that Kid was preparing to use his darn punk against them and just blast them away in less than 10 seconds. So it feels like Kid was the one who's going to strike first. Like he was going to shoot up his entire fleet that was in front of him first. Shanks saw the devastation that was about to happen, so he decided to, be preemptive before Kid and take him out before Kid did anything. But if Shanks didn't do anything, then Kid would have been the one to attack first. Shanks did it to save his fleet and crew. So Kid was going to be the one to attack first. Shanks saw that and kind of cut him off. In 1076, it was mentioned that Kid attacked first. Yeah, he did. He kind of did, because he was the one causing a ruckus out there at first. Whereas Dragon even got active before him. Dragon is still trying to wonder where Kuma went, because Kuma's still climbing the red line. The rest of the revolutionaries are still in the Kamabaka Kingdom. Like, the last thing we see of Dragon was him saying, like, we were going to change the world together. This is the reason why the whole revolutionary army exists. But we see the Kid Pirates getting attacked in a previous chapter. Oh, it was mentioned Kid attack first. Okay, ignore that. Then it's justified. Yeah, it's justified. Shanks saw what was about to happen. Kid was going to strike and take out as many people as he could in 10 seconds. Shanks decided to, move faster than 10 seconds and took out Kid in the process. So, future vision allows you to be preemptive before someone makes the first move. So technically, you could say that Shanks dealt the first strike to end it all, but it was Kid who started it. Kid started it, Shanks finished it. That's how it went. But we are entering into a phase where people are getting bodied right after they had big triumphs. We are entering into a phase when people we thought were powerful enough to like, oh, this is awesome. Both Law and Kid took down Big Mom. It's by far one of the most significant battles that happens in One Piece. And now we cut to Kid rolling up to another Yonko, and it's like night and day in terms of how that fight goes compared to Big Mom. Big Mom and Law, now mind you, remember, Kid still had help from another person. Another powerful pirate, Law. Who knows how this fight would have gone if Law and Kid joined together to go up against Shanks? Who can say? I don't know. But Kid going up against Shanks, it was a losing battle from the start. We should have known the moment we found out it was Ben Beckman who's the one who robbed Kid of his arm this entire time, and not Shanks. And like I said before, if you can't deal with the person underneath the captain. You are not touching the captain. This chapter pretty much just solidified this. They took down Big Mom thinking they're them just to get clapped by Shanks and Blackbeard. See, as much as they don't like cooperation, because they were very iffy about it. They were very iffy about it, but they could accomplish so much with cooperation. To get on their own individually, they probably wouldn't have been able to bring down Big Mom. But together, they're strong enough to contend with her. On their own individually, Kid was not enough to take down Shanks. But together with other supernovas, who knows? I'm not going to say it was going to be easy, or if they would easily be, or they'd be able to bring down Shanks, but my feeling towards it is, for them to be so opposed to cooperation is what allowed them to survive this long. They're just so stubborn about it that they don't like the idea. Kid especially, ever since the betrayal of Apu and, siding with Kaido, that pretty much put Kid against cooperating and teaming up with anyone ever. He literally put off teaming up with anyone willingly after that whole betrayal from Apu when Kaido showed up. Also, can I ask why people online give hate to Kid for getting one shot? It's divine departure. I doubt many people could take that, or lots of them. Why are people hating on the fact that Kid got one shot? It just shows you that Kid is strong, but he's not Shanks strong. That's nothing to hate about it. It just shows you that even though this man was capable of going up against Big Mom along with Law, and he gained a 3 billion berry bounty and taken down a Yonko, I don't know why people would be hating on the fact that Kid got one shot. I don't know why people would be hating on that. Did they think that Kid was so strong? Because here's my thing. It was because Kid was getting cocky. I mean, I don't hate Kid for what happened to him. I pity him because pride goes before destruction. A haughty spirit before a fall. This sort of thing happens all the time. People get so prideful in themselves. They get so high on everything that makes them great and everything. They get so high and mighty and full of themselves, pretty much, that when they're brought low, it hits even harder than a person who's very conscientious of their own selves. So when it comes to Kid, this man pretty much thought he was untouchable. He knew to be careful, but he just thought he was untouchable. I brought down Big Mom, so that means I can do the exact same thing to Shanks. But Shanks is on a whole nother level than the rest of the Yonko. Because if you didn't notice, when Kaido referenced the people that could fight him evenly on a big playing field, Big Mom was not in that group. Roger, Whitebeard, Garp, Zebek, Shanks, and Odin. Those are the only people that Kaido willingly acknowledges being able to fight him evenly, but he didn't mention Big Mom. So that's what happens when you get so cocky that you throw caution to the wind. You think, well, I'm just going to use the same move I used to bring down Big Mom, and that'll be that. Sure, you'll cause some devastation, but it's like, this is what happens when your hockey ain't on point. This is what happens when your powers ain't on point, because remember, his awakened powers haven't been mastered yet. He hasn't mastered his awakened abilities yet. Him using it against Big Mom is him being slightly inexperienced because it makes him incredibly tired. So he hasn't mastered his Devil Fruit power yet. He hasn't mastered his Conqueror's Haki yet. Because imagine if Kid used Conquerors along with his darn Punk. It would have did some damage. But it didn't because he's not on that level. Kid was never on that level to deal with Shanks. Never. At all. And he didn't know how he could damage Kaido with physical attacks. Kid, Mickey Moused his way into 3 road poneglyphs. Yeah, when I looked online, I see people say Kid sucks and stuff like that. Kid does not suck. It's just that he was unprepared. He was too cocky. And that's why he got folded. Most people don't actually hate Kid. He's just getting clowned for this gigantic L. He brought it on himself. He brought it on himself. He should be clowned. How you gonna go from one Yonko that took every ounce of strength you had, and even after that fight was over, you said, I'm done. If Kaido comes down from the rooftop, I ain't got the strength to resist him. That was both Kid and Law after they fought Big Mom and they beat her. That's them. They were dog tired after fighting Big Mom and said, like, if Luffy's not the one to come down from that rooftop, it's all over. I'm not going to resist. I don't have the strength to. That's Kid and Law. This dude thought that just because we brought down a Yonko and we're fully rested, that we can take on another and it's going to go the exact same way. You didn't say the magic word, and that was, I surrender. Shanks warned him. He sent a message to Kid. Either leave your old poneglyph scribblings and leave, or fight. That was his only choice. Shanks like, this y'all, Captain? That's basically what he did, Gajil. Also, Gajil, good to see you. I'm going to end here in a little bit so that way we can go through the audio tests so we can endure this thing one last time. I still got to update the game once I get done with this, but once we're done, we got to go through that audio test when you get the chance. Law's best bet is to sink Blackbeard's ship and escape, but Blackbeard has Van Augur, so he's doomed. I mean, Blackbeard kind of has some broken abilities in his crew now. He has one ability that is basically gives Jesus Burgess infinite strength on top of his already considerable strength. We have Doc Q that can cause any disease to happen, so you can cause a sleepy disease to infect people, and then it causes everyone that is encountered with this disease to just fall asleep, and they're rendered immobile, or IBM, or what is it, in irritable syndrome, IBS, or anything of that nature, any type of disease that Doc Q could think of, he could have that happen to people he's fighting against. And then you got Van Augur, who could basically just teleport. Just instant transmission anywhere he wants. And that's on top of what Blackbeard has. The Yami Yami no Mi and the Gura Gura no Mi. Blackbeard has a lot of overpowered abilities on his crew. So if Law gets out of that situation, it will be a miracle. I wouldn't even say unprepared, but just straight up unlucky. Even if he didn't fight, he would have taken an L by giving up the poneglyphs. Yeah. Incredibly unlucky, the absolute opposite of what Luffy has. Luffy has straight up luck, only rivaled by Buggy in that regard. If nothing else, I feel like Buggy has more luck than Luffy. But Kid, incredibly unlucky. You hate to see it. But also, it's amazing. It just shows you that even despite everything we've seen of these super powerful individuals, how much hardship they've endured, everything they've been through, there's still someone stronger than them. Just think about that for a second. Everything we saw from Wano, the fights between Big Mom and Kaido and the Supernovas, all of this, all that they've endured, all the powers that they showcased, only to be shown that they are still not ready to face everything else out in the world. Especially Shanks. They're still not ready. Kid just got one shot. How many times has Kid and the rest of the Supernovas been hit by attacks that should kill normal people? And they've been these overpowered big attacks. And Shanks comes in and just hits both Kid and Killer at the same time and puts them on death's door in that instance. Just imagine. They're not ready. They never were. Shanks is that wall they have to surpass. And it's clear that Shanks is a very high wall because Kid was unprepared for what was about to happen to him. And I don't mean to say like he was unprepared, like he had no idea what he was getting into, because he knew it the first time he tried to run up on him. And Ben Beckman says like, yeah, you're not even seeing the captain. Boom, arm gone. So it just shows that as strong as Kid is, Kid was nowhere near the level necessary for him to take on Shanks. Shanks is that individual who Shanks has Asmongold levels of experience, whereas Kid is a person who's been just who's been playing MMOs for at least like what 2-3 years, 2-3 years at most. Whereas Shanks is Asmongold's levels of experience. The real question is, can Kinemon survive Divine Departure? No. But the man survived getting stabbed in the back because he wasn't put back together properly by law, so crazier things have happened. Shanks only scared away Ryokugyu so he could fold the new era himself. Ain't that something? But overall, let me just say my final selections and final notes for these chapters, because I really need to get ready. It's already 2:38, and I need to meet up with Gajeel once he's freed up. But overall, these chapters of One Piece in March have been phenomenal. They've been great. The reveal that York is the traitor, and she intends to be the only Vegapunk. Then we got Shanks folding Kid, and the Kid Pirates just being straight up utterly destroyed, as if everything they've been through meant absolutely nothing in the face of this man. It's just crazy, all the things that are happening in the story of One Piece right now. And April starts tomorrow, and I can't remember, is there a chapter dropping this upcoming Sunday, or are we on break? Yeah, I think we're on break. Next chapter is coming in 9 days. So yeah, we are on break after this. So we gotta wait a little while before we get back to One Piece. But I just want to say that these chapters of One Piece have been absolutely amazing. I've enjoyed every single second of reading through them. And all I can really think of at the end of the day is just like, how much more crazy are we about to see things in this story compared to everything else we've seen thus far? Overall, I rate these chapters a solid 10 out of 10, if not for the final chapter we got this month alone. Like the final chapter we got, the Shanks Divine Departure chapter, that alone is worth an entire 10 out of 10 by itself. It pretty much stole the entire... This was Shanks' month. Let's be honest. This was Shanks' entire month, and he only showed up at the end of it. So yeah, these chapters are getting better. My thing is, where are we going to end up once Egghead is over? Ain't that scary to think about? Where are we going to end up when Egghead is over? I don't know. I don't know where we're going to end up. But I'm looking forward to enduring this ride up into that point. So, to everyone here, this has been a phenomenal reflection stream. I was glad that I was able to speak to everyone and answer all your questions and also comment on what you said, because this is where we can have these conversations. You guys got questions, opinions, ideas, or whatever. This is the place for it. And I don't think Egghead peak. Oh, no, it hasn't. Because we still haven't run into the moment where it says that the conclusion, the resolution of the Egghead incident would pretty much shock the world. Yeah, we haven't reached that point yet. We have not reached the point that would shock the world of One Piece yet. We have not reached that yet. So Egghead has not peaked. It's just set up. It has not peaked. It's just set a bar to go past now with Shanks. But we're going to have to see in the next chapter. I will see you guys for more One Piece after we are done with the break. Of course, I got the next episode to go over tomorrow. So there's that. But to everyone here, I got to go ahead and get ready for the Avengers stream. I'm about to get started in about 19 minutes or so. So I got to get prepared for that. Got to meet up with Gajeel. Got to get changed into my comfortable clothes. So we'll be messing with that for a little while. Can't tell you how long it's going to be for, but we're going to mess with it. So to everyone here, under the sound of my voice, it has been an honor to have yet another successful One Piece reflection stream. Neil Johnson, thank you for being a member once again for a full year. Thank you. You have no idea how much that helps keep the lights on, so to speak, for this channel. I just want to say thank you. It means the world to me, and I will never stop saying thank you to all of you, pretty much. Not just you, Neil, but to my moderators and my viewers, everybody. I appreciate every single one of you. You're not just a random person on the internet who watches what I do. I consider you my people, and I'm happy to entertain. So to everyone here, all I can say is, hope you all enjoyed. Can't wait to see you all in my next video. And if you're new to the channel and you enjoyed what you saw here today, then like, subscribe, share this stream with everyone you know, because the more the merrier, and maybe even consider becoming a member, because I am always looking forward to entertaining you. So have a fantastic day, and once again, as always, later, peoples. Heaven help me, I'm about to play Marvel's Avengers again.